Greetings, everyone. And welcome to a very special Who's That Kaiju episode of Monster Party.
Monster Party!
Monster Party!
Giant Monster Party!
Monster Party. Hey, we're still alive.
We are. We're still kicking.
We're still kicking. We don't got none of us have the bug as far as we know.
But speaking of bugs, who are you, sir?
I am a bug. I'm a giant praying mantis. And my name, I'm kind of a tubby praying mantis, really. My name is Matt Weinhold.
And I'm Shawn Sheridan.
And I'm Larry Strothe, like a grasshopper.
and I'm James GONIS.
Dung Beetle James GONIS.
All right. I'll take it.
You know, you talked about bugs, but you know, what kind of big creatures are we talking about today?
Well, this is a great topic, I think, because we've discussed certain movies and characters in movies that are kind of obscure. We've done our horror obscura. We've done sci-fi obscura.
Yeah.
And this is one that really speaks to us, I think, as a group.
Mm-hmm.
Because we all love giant Japanese monsters.
Oh, we sure
Oh, yeah.
do.
Otherwise known as kaiju for the uneducated.
Yes.
Mm.
And so this episode is titled...
What is it?
KAIJU Obscura.
KAIJU Obscura!
KAIJU Obscura.
KAIJU Obscura.
Yeah, it's kind of like a nice, little offshoot of our horror obscura and sci-fi obscura. Yeah.
Yeah, because everyone has heard us talk about Godzilla. Godzilla's the big. But what about those other big monsters?
There's a
Yeah,
whole
and we're
world.
not talking we want to get off the beaten path here.
Yes.
Like, we don't want to just talk about something like Gamera, because most people know Gamera even.
Yeah.
And even the kaiju villains of Godzilla.
A lot of the Toho monsters are pretty familiar.
But let's dig. Let's dig deep. Let's get into some obscura.
But to dig deep.
And to dig deep,
we need someone who really knows this topic.
Right.
Correct,
Well,
Larry.
We could not have a more perfect guest for this topic. This gentleman, for 279 episodes, produced and hosted KAIJUCAST, the longest-running podcast dedicated to the kaiju genre.
No.
He's been a major presence at G-Fest every year,
That's true.
he hosts must-see panels and an
I
after
have must
party.
seen them.
And an after party that's become legendary.
Oh, yes, it has. Oh, brother.
We got to hear about that.
He has organized special listener tours to Japan called Fanvasions. That includes special once-in-a-lifetime access to actors, craftsmen, and props from legendary... Well, maybe. All from legendary Godzilla and other kaiju films. Cool. And in 2015, he released a terrific feature documentary celebrating Godzilla's 60-year anniversary entitled Hail to the King, 60 Years of Destruction.
Which we've recommended on our show.
Guys, let's welcome to the Monster Party, Mr. Kyle Yount.
Kyle Yount!
Welcome. Thank you for having me.
Oh, we are so honored to have you.
We are.
I am thrilled to be here, to be perfectly honest. It's been, we've been talking for years.
Yeah.
Exactly, right?
Well,
I'm thrilled to be in my home anyway, almost all the time. So, and with you guys at the same time.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Look, we've always wanted
home quarantining.
Yeah, we wanted to have you in our studio, but we just couldn't swing it. But this seemed like the perfect opportunity.
Yeah,
you being so far away, but now
we live in Iceland, right? Or
far off Monsterland.
Yes.
Oh, Monster Island.
Monster Island. Right.
Pocast Island.
Monster Island adjacent.
Now through technology, we can have you right in our own little studio.
That's right. I'm in your studios, and you're in my studio, actually.
Wow!
Ta-da!
Yes, and I know listeners have seen pictures of our studio. It has all kinds of toys around it, but your studio is filled with Godzilla and kaiju monsters.
Godzilla Kaiju Paradise.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, it's nothing but kaiju in this room now. It used to house quite a bit more than just giant monsters, but as the show progressed and as I kept doing more and more in the genre, I just found myself with more and more giant monster toys, and so everything sort of filtered out, and so now this is literally nothing but a kaiju paradise.
Sure.
Oh,
Do you have other rooms in your house that have the other stuff?
Yeah, our guest room has a bunch of Star Wars stuff and all
Star Wars. I'm not
books.
familiar. No.
Yeah, it's an obscure. Talk about obscura, right? Like a sci-fi obscura. Maybe one day you guys could do an episode.
Oh
on
yeah. Is it anything like that Battlestar Galactica thing? Because
yeah, I think it ripped it off.
That's way too mainstream.
Star Crash.
That'll be our blockbuster franchise obscura episode.
Yeah.
Right.
All right.
But Kyle, you know
your stuff.
Everything about the whole kaiju world and the whole giant monster stuff. I know you know Godzilla, but there's a whole bunch of other big monsters out there.
Yeah, like some people, stuff. Yeah, like on the fringe of like well-known kaiju movies or TV shows. What are we should probably start with you, right?
Let's start with you.
Good,
well, I wanted to actually gauge where we are in the obscure levels of kaiju here. I'm guessing we're gonna start at the sort of lower level. I sort of broke everything up into levels here, right?
Oh my God!
Your base level is just your base kaiju levels are just Godzilla and Gamera, right? Like the original Showa era.
Sure, maybe Ultraman, possibly.
Yeah, and the other Toho monsters of the 60s and 70s.
Okay, so I put those guys like Rodan and Mysterians, Mothra, King Kong escapes, anything that's made by Toho and brought to America by like companies like AIP, American International Pictures. Right. Those I put into like level 1, and also like the Heisei Gamera movies, because these are where I start to find people a lot of times haven't seen them. They haven't seen Rodan, they haven't seen the Mysterians. So you guys are already on top of that stuff with your podcast, right?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
So level 2 of my Kaiju Obscura would include stuff like Gappa, the Triphibian monster.
Right.
Oh, we have to talk about Gappa. Gappa.
Now, okay, is that what we're doing? Are we talking about Gappa?
Throw it down, man.
Can you give us a little inside information about Gappa? It actually brought a tear to my eye.
Gappa does?
So Gappa.
Wait. Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Gappa brought a tear to your eye.
When I saw it for the first time, it was on Creature Feature.
Like as a kid, right?
As a kid.
Yeah.
And
I'm guessing 3.
No. I was maybe about 12.
12?
Yes.
Kyle,
and
12.
And when I watched this film, I wasn't at home. I was working on a project, and and Salinas, and for the kids that were in this performance, we were done. They were done by 8 or 9 o'clock, and so we had to go in this room. And I sat there and watched. It was a Saturday night. I watched Creature Feature, and they had Gappa. And just so happens that when everyone was done with the show and they had wrapped everything up, and we had to get back on the bus, Gappa had finished, and I sat there. I was riveted. And when it get to the end, I don't want to give it away.
Well, it's kind of like a Japanese version of Gorgo, right?
Oh,
it is
thanks.
Gorgo.
Thanks.
My beat.
That's not going to ruin the movie.
It is Gorgo. It's like, hey, can we
make Gorgo's effective.
Gorgo again with a crappier costume?
Whoa, no.
I like those monsters, though. I like
Kyle.
them.
They're all right. They're fine.
Back me up here.
Gappa, let me actually give you guys a little bit of backstory on why Gappa even came into existence. And first up, I really can't stand it when I feel like people are like complimenting me too much. So I must say that there are lots and lots of people out there that know way more about the genre than I do.
No.
But we got
when you listed off all the stuff that I've been doing, it does make me feel like I might be an authority on some of this stuff. So, we all know Godzilla came out in 1954, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then Ultraman didn't start up until 1966, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
In 1965, a year prior to that, Gamera came out. So, basically you had Toho making a ton of Godzilla or kaiju films and science fiction films. And then they were like, oh, we'll reintroduce Godzilla in 62.
Mm-hmm.
Then they had success with that. They brought him back in 64. By the time 65 came around, Daiei was like, hey, we've got our own thing. So they introduced Gamera. And then in 1966, that's what they call the monster boom. So 66 and 67, you had just everybody was like jumping on the kaiju bandwagon.
Right, like other companies other than Toho and Dai.
Yeah, so then that's when Tsuburaya started Ultraman, and then that's when Dai did Daimajin, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a minute.
Yeah.
And then Gappa was created by a company called Nikatsu, which was a completely different film studio that had never done, not really done special effects films. They were Japan's oldest film studio, and I actually know about this stuff because I was just doing a commentary for Gamera too. But the Nikatsu eventually would go into the softcore Roman porno stuff, but like in this time period,
which mostly did not have kaiju in them.
Would this be considered
correct?
Would this be considered pink?
Yeah. Well, that's further, but
that's further on. Okay.
Yeah. So basically, what happened is in 1967, the Japanese film studios are just working really like nonstop. They're producing films at breakneck speeds, and the attendance is through the roof. But at the same time, you've got TV being introduced, and then followed by color TV, which basically ruined the film industry around the world, as you guys know. And so that essentially, Nikatsu would eventually turn from doing big pictures to doing what would keep them afloat, which ended up being movies that show a little skin. But yeah, Nikatsu created Gappa as one of those studios that was like, we're going to throw our hat into this ring as well.
Did they see this as being...
They came out.
Did they see this as being like, oh, they were going to start a franchise like Godzilla and they'll bring back Gappa again and again? Do you even know that? Yeah.
I don't think so, but here's the problem for me. Like, I'm not a huge fan of Gappa and the next film I'm going to talk about.
Me neither.
When I talk about a huge fan, like, there's not much to get into. It's just a movie, really. You know, a singular movie. There's never been a sequel. There's never been anything else. So it's sort of like, how much can we get out of that anyway, coming from Japan, in terms of how it was made and all that stuff? I'm sure eventually we'll get lots and lots more information about.
I'm sure if the box office was like crazy great, they would have considered.
Probably would have,
right.
But, I'm sure if they had been like, wow, we got a runaway hit on our hands.
It's Gappa Mania.
Gappa Mania. That's right.
But Kyle, wouldn't you say though that because Gappa was like a one-off? I mean, any kind of toy that's a Gappa thing, that's like, oh my gosh, that's kind of a unique thing. There's
it's true,
toys, but a Gappa toy is like really unique.
I would say that's definitely true. I mean, basically one of the earliest toys I'd ever seen in real life, like a Japanese toy, was a Nito Gappa figure. And it was like really old looking. I wasn't into that sort of like soft vinyl throwback style of figure, so I never picked it up. But those kinds of things, like, they came out on the market, but you don't see Gappa for years and years and years and years later, until someone like, I don't know, Iwakura decides, hey, we're going to make the little tiny figure of the Gappa kid with the helmet on. It's just a teeny tiny little deep cut figure. But yeah, there's not a lot of figures for Gappa out there. It's not a very popular.
Actually, I have a set of the entire Gappa family. It's like these really detailed figures that actually the other Monster Party guys helped pay for my birthday.
Oh yeah,
we were in Japan.
Yeah, right.
So I have
Nakano Broadway. We found.
Yeah, it was. They're beautiful detailed.
You know that place that's in Nakano Broadway that's like an antique store, but it also has like vinyl figures and old toys, and it's on one of those levels. But
yeah, I know that.
It's kind of dark.
Store you're talking about.
Yeah.
You just described like 50% of the stores in Nakano Broadway.
That's true. Yes,
right.
That's true.
Yeah. I mean, I love that whole area, and you can find just the weirdest, obscurest stuff in there.
Yeah.
Cool. And that set you're talking about, though, I'm pretty sure that is actually a set by Iwakura or Cast.
Oh yeah, it might be. Yeah, because they're like about maybe 6 inches, and it's like the mama Gappa, the papa Gappa, and the little baby Gappa.
The baby Gappa.
And does it come with Gappa porridge?
God bless Iwakura and Cast, because they produced figures that nobody else did.
Yeah,
that's true. Yes.
Yeah, they're in miniature, but one of my holy grails that I was able to finally get, thanks to Taylor White's help, was that at the start of Godzilla versus Megalon, there's these little dolphin paddle boat that the kid is riding. And Iwakura made one of those. It's like, this is the most obscure stuff. The animated Hedorah from the little cartoon in Smog Monster.
Yeah.
They did one of those.
One of my favorite sets from them is the the fish head dancers from Ghidorah. That's fantastic.
You have that too, wonderful, James, right?
Yeah, and plus I found the Go-Go Girl too.
That really I want. I really want the Go-Go Girl.
I want a full-size paddle boat. That's a good time. But Gappa to me is one of those ones where it's obscure. It's obscure in the sense that, it's not Godzilla, it's not Gamera. It never played in rotation too often when I was growing up.
Yeah, it was, but that's where most of us were exposed to. It was late night television.
Right.
I believe on television it was called Monster from the Prehistoric Planet.
Right.
Yeah.
Which makes no sense, by the way. But that's what
yeah. All I know is Gappa angry. Gappa angry.
Yeah.
Sean, as we both know, Gappa made a little cameo in a show called Red Dwarf.
That's right, in the credit sequence. And also, he's watching TV, right?
No, there's a scene where they go to a planet. The crew of the Red Dwarf go to a planet where it's like a wax museum, but they're androids.
Right. That's right.
Interact with historical figures.
Right.
At one point, they run into these giant monsters, and it's Gappa and his
It's like
family.
footage from that. Yeah, because that movie was, and maybe not anymore,
domain,
it was public domain. So like it got a lot of cheap VHS and DVD releases early on.
But they even make a comment like, why is it so unrealistic?
Hey, look, I know everyone's kind of bad-mouthing Gappa, but as Sean pointed out, it's a family of Gappas, and I was really touched by seeing this family of monsters, because many of these monster films, it's a monster's all by itself, and this was a family. And
that's true. You don't see that very often, actually.
Well, it's a generation Gappa.
Yeah. Oh, he's back. You've been working on that, haven't you?
I was waiting for the moment.
Oh, nice one.
James. Oh, God, I love you, James. All right. Well, there's that one.
I got one.
Go for it.
This is, considering how iconic this kaiju has become in Japan especially, it's hard to fit it into the obscure category, but I think a lot of people stateside are not that familiar with it. And this was from Tsuburaya Productions. It's a kids show starting in 1966, Kaiju Busca.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, we all love Busca, don't we?
Yeah.
We do.
I have a little figure of Busca, too.
Okay, wait, guys, I know people don't know this.
Yeah.
So
because it never really ran. It never really ran here.
No.
Right.
Now, he's not really a kaiju in the sense of he's not a giant.
Not giant, but he's
the show is
than
called
most
Kaiju
people.
Busca.
Yeah.
Well, a giant kaiju is a dai kaiju, right? Kyle, is that? Yeah. Okay,
oh yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay, so wait a minute. So a kaiju. See, I'm learning all kinds of things.
I thought it was a kaiju is monster and dai kaiju is giant monster. I thought that was the case.
Is that right?
Yes, that is correct. Yeah,
See,
basically, kaiju means strange beast. So before Godzilla, there was no such thing as a kaiju movie, right? So basically, kaiju just meant strange beast. So they called Godzilla a kaiju, and that basically took off into a genre, into its own kind of thing. But that's why, again, Kaiju Busca, 1966, part of that kaiju boom.
That's the same figure I have. Yes.
James,
I have a bunch of Busca figures because I have an affinity to Busca because we share a lot of the same, loves and dreams.
Yes.
And I could eat ramen till I fall over. Like
my man.
Busca loves ramen, right?
So could someone please tell me what Busca looks like? What is he, and what does he eat? What's the deal here?
Go, James.
Well, he's a buck-tooth, like it looks like a cross between like a giraffe and a guinea pig,
and a panda a little bit too.
And a panda,
a little bit of panda, yeah.
He started life as an iguana who was fed experimental powder, and he has a crown on his head called a boo crown that gives him special powers.
Right, it's based on a true story.
Of course. Now it was black and white, 47 episodes. And considering, they did revive it in the late 90s briefly, but considering that it only ran for a year, how iconic this creature became. Because you go to any vintage toy store, or they even have newer products in Japan, and you can't help but see a variation of that character. It's just become really iconic, and a lot of kaiju fans know Busca, and they might have even seen a few episodes. which can be a little hard to find. But for the most part, for the layman, I don't think that they would recognize or know who Bouska is.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. That's
now, is Bouska, this is what I'm so glad you brought this up, James, but is Bouska like a friend of children? Does he live like in a kid's clubhouse?
Yes.
I mean, what's the story behind Bouska?
Exactly. Like a lot of these stories, his best friend is a kid. And he has these adventures, and he's got a really annoying voice. Like in a lot of these things too.
The kid or Bouska?
Both. No, Bouska in particular.
Can you give me a sampling, like, or Kyle? Can you give me, what does he sound like? Does he talk like this, or
he talks exactly
pretty
like
much, yeah.
Like high pitched.
He talks like Edward G. Robinson.
Okay,
I like ramen. See.
Okay, two questions.
I'm about to show you. You see.
2 questions, James, or maybe Kyle. You can tell me. So I seen these pictures of Bouska, who he has a little crown on, and he's always eating noodles. What's the deal with him eating noodles? Was he like, did like a ramen company like pay like sponsorship or something, or what's the deal there?
I'm sure they did actually, but I don't know the story behind Bouska. Actually, Bouska is what I would consider to be level 3 or 4.
Yeah, that's pretty deep.
That's pretty deep. Like, I have only seen clips of Bouska. I've never seen any full episodes of the show.
James got us some.
Yeah.
It's never been brought to the States legitimately, and then again, it's never been brought to the States in the fan markets where it's been subtitled. So it's like sort of not even really something that's been very accessible. A lot of those levels that I was like sort of determining which I consider to be which level are about accessibility, really. Like, I would say Bouska's hard to get. Bouska's hard to even imagine people seeing. But I know people who really love Bouska, and almost everybody who knows what Bouska is, I think, has an affinity for Bouska, even if they haven't seen the episodes.
Well, Kyle, aren't you connected in Japan somewhere? Don't you have a good relationship with these Japanese companies? Can't you make a call and say, "Hey, work on Bouska"?
Kyle, get the Bouska people on the phone.
Hang on, let me get on that right away.
Hit your Bouska hotline. The ramen-shaped phone that you have.
I mean, I'm sorry, James. Did you say?
Hello, Subaraya. Can we get some Bouska produced here in the States, please?
I need to find out about Bouska. It's mandatory.
It's mandatory. Love it.
Oh, Bouska. Because I've seen these great toys. There's this great little toy. Maybe you guys are familiar with the little Godzilla on the tricycle, and they made an Ultraman tricycle.
From M1,
M1, and they made a little Bouska on a tricycle.
Yeah. Which makes more sense actually. If he could actually ride a tricycle, unlike the giant monsters. You have to have a gargantuan tricycle.
I have the Bondi one that Kyle displayed. But I also have, there's one that they put out, I think it's also Bondi, but they did one where it actually has a fur costume.
Wow.
Like it's not just molded plastic. They did a little costume. Yeah. And that kind of stuff, I live for. Because to me, it's just like a mini furry. And so I just imagine him during the middle of the night getting together with the Chewbacca figure. And no questions asked.
What could it spawn from that? Wow.
Hey, James, last Bouska question for you. Now, is he the only monster, or are there other monsters in the Bouska episodes?
He's the only one I remember.
I think he's just him and a bunch of
other
kids,
monsters,
right?
I think, right?
I think
there's like a couple of other, like there's definitely kind of like a female
Bouska one,
but again, I've only seen some clips, so I haven't really seen too much of it.
What does the female Bouska look like?
It's totally hot.
Disturbingly different.
Yeah.
Not Bugs Bunny hot, but
Yeah. It's just like Bouska, but just from like the legs down, just like shaved, lovely gams. Fishnets.
No.
You should get the calendar.
True?
Oh,
is that true? Kyle, what is
yes, it is, Larry.
Like? No, what does the female Bouska look like?
There is a female Bouska, but
can you describe in detail? Like
Larry, it's like seriously, it's
so here's
it's like Minnie Mouse.
Here's the male version of Busca, and then when you spread the legs open.
No. Let's not go there. So I
That's limited edition.
I imagine she wears.
For your Patreon backers, right?
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, so the female Busca really does kind of look like the actual Busca, but instead of having big, like cartoon eyes, she has like Minnie Mouse style eyes.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Eyelashes.
Yeah, with like eyelashes, right? Okay.
I don't know if she wears the crown, but
I forget.
it looks like she doesn't have a crown, but she has like one antenna on top of her head.
So can the crown be removed, or that's like an antenna type thing?
I think it's part of him.
It's part of him. Okay.
I thought it could be removed like Frosty's hat, and as soon as it's removed, he loses his magic. That kind of thing. I thought so.
I don't think I got that far.
We'll find that out from the Busca.
Like pictures of the crown by itself, so maybe you can remove it, but more like a taxidermy mount.
Well, just like anything, I mean, you can remove a hand.
Right.
James, nice one. Nice one. Busca. I learned more about Busca, but we need to get that over to the States here. So Kyle, maybe you can make a call.
All right.
Maybe I can. We'll see. I mean, I actually would really like to see it released on DVD or Blu-ray. Streaming.
Oh
like a streaming service picking it up would be gold, because
Pluto TV.
I think more people would be interested in seeing it than interested in owning it. You know what I mean?
Right.
No.
Oh, maybe.
I said more people, not everyone. I mean, basically, I would want to own it.
Well, complete
ramen.
Complete
The DVD set should come with ramen.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I'm not going to disagree with that statement at all.
Nice one, Matt. James, great job. I like that one.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Hey, Larry, what do you got?
Yeah.
Well, I don't have anything as obscure as Busca.
Let's see what you got.
Well, look, I don't know. I know I've talked about this on another show, but this really spoke to me when I saw it for the first time. And I think as much as I love it, I know it's not common to a lot of people. And I'm talking about the TV series known as Space Giants.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Space Giants.
What do you say, level 2?
Kyle?
Yeah, I'd give that like a level 2 because it was on TV, but it was on TV here in the States.
Right.
Yeah. So look, that's my level 2. And what I loved about it is, if you were like me who loved big monsters, this was a TV series that had giant robots and a little robot buddy that could turn into a rocket that you could jump into, and he could fly you around. And then you could also see other giant monsters fighting each other. I mean, it was filled with all the things that I love.
Yeah.
And what was cool was, after Star Wars had come out, there was a TV show. Oh my gosh, Kyle's just showing a great prop here.
He's got a Rodak lamp.
Yeah, so the basic synopsis.
What was his name? Rodak?
Rodak.
It was Rodak.
Okay. Rodak is like this evil alien that comes to Earth. He wants to take over Earth. And there's this robot. He's not really a robot type character. It's a living being, but he takes on kind of a robot type structure. And his name is Goldar. He was created by the father of Earth or something, who lives deep inside Earth. And Goldar has a wife that was created for him by the Earth creator guy, and he really loves the family that he encounters, and he says, gee, I want to have a kid just like this other family. And so the Earth creator creates a little boy whose name is Gam. So the big robot is named Goldar, then Silvar is the wife, and then little Gam is the little rocket boy.
And Gam, by the way, does not have very nice legs.
Right. And what I always love is
rude, man.
Each one of these characters can turn into a giant rocket. So Goldar turns into this giant, magnificent gold rocket. Silvar turns to a silver rocket. And of course, Gam is kind of multicolored, like red, white, and blue, actually. And what's so neat is, so the main character, whenever he needs to bring like the giants, the robots to his house, he has a special whistle, and he blows it once. Oh my gosh.
Oh my God. Wow.
Look at that. And Kyle is holding up the actual whistle. He blows it once. And I always remember the little tune. It was do-do-do-do. And then when you wanted to call Goldar, you had to blow it 3 times. So it's do-do-do-do, do-do-do-do, do-do-do-do. And then out the robots would come, and then they'd battle these ferocious beasts. And I just loved it. And when we went on our Japan trip, I was there.
There he is.
When we went on our Japan trip, that was kind of my ongoing theme. I always had it on.
You were watching it on the plane on the way to.
Yes, I was watching it. Yeah, I went through every episode. And so what's cool is it is a color TV series. It's a series that was dubbed. You can find it here in the States. So for people who like the Ultraman type stuff and you don't know of this, Space Giants, it's a really great little TV series with all kinds of big kaiju monsters.
Kyle, was there a race to get Space Giants on before Ultraman?
I think so, yes.
Yeah.
Technically, I don't know. So the deal is, Ultraman wasn't rushed. Ultraman had its own production because it started with Ultra Q at the beginning of '66.
Right.
Which was well in production, of course, way before it premiered. And the same thing goes for Ultraman in 1966. So I don't know if necessarily Tsuburaya was like sitting there, twiddling their thumbs in between the two shows, but basically my understanding is that Ultra Q ended and then almost immediately Ultraman began. But I know for a fact that Space Giants beat out Ultraman in terms of like appearing on screen first.
Yeah, it was the first color tokusatsu TV series, and it beat Ultraman just by about like a week.
Oh wow! Yeah. I would love to know more about the Space Giant stuff. There are people who have studied that series, by the way, know tons of information about that.
Get the Space Giants people on the phone now.
Exactly, yeah, totally.
Well, maybe we'll do a Space Giants episode.
Wasting your time with me here. You need a Space Giants.
No.
Space Giants is actually, I love to talk about Space Giants because I didn't grow up with Godzilla. And I didn't grow up with Ultraman because Ultraman was not broadcast where I was growing up. And Godzilla movies, I never really saw them.
Where'd you grow up? Under a rock?
Columbia, South Carolina. And there are probably people out there that could be like, oh no, we totally had monster movie Sundays or whatever, but I just didn't know about it. And I didn't have friends to get me into this stuff. So for me, what I saw was Spectreman and Space Giants.
Yeah.
Right.
Spectreman, remember?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so those were my TV hooks for sure. Those two shows.
Okay, so in between Ultraman and Ultra 7, there was a show that I really enjoy, and James has gotten me some episodes to look at. They're not subtitled, but I just love this show, and this is a show that I really wished. I so wish that this thing would be released on DVD or just come to Pluto TV, but Captain Ultra.
Oh, yeah.
Which was put out by Toei. I guess it was loosely based on something called Captain Future, which was a pulp science fiction series of books by Edmund Hamilton. But I guess they used the Ultra name because they wanted to glom on to the success of Ultraman, maybe, with like name recognition.
Yeah.
But it's super fun, and it's space opera.
Yeah.
Captain Ultra is this square-jawed adventurer, and he's got a robot who is his sidekick, and then there's this other guy who's like, I've never really understood what he is, but he's like half rock or something. He wears this strange costume that looks like rocks.
Super colorful, too.
Really colorful. They have all kinds of spaceships and aliens, and I just love this thing. And one of the things that I've discussed before, and I think Larry will agree, I love Japanese space. Japanese space has that kind of blue hue to it.
Yeah, like a light blue, like a baby blue almost.
I love it.
I love it. And that's all over the place with Captain Ultra.
I want to paint that on my ceiling.
Yeah.
And have like little lights light up like the little stars, and maybe I could like have like a little like space gamera floating by or something.
Little gappas flying around.
But have there been Captain Ultra figures?
Oh yeah, I mean forever. I mean,
I'm sure,
most of the ones that exist are the older vinyl figures, and those are obviously very expensive and hard to find. Easier to find in Japan, and then they've made some newer figures, and I have a couple of them, like one of the aliens. I would just love there to be more of that kind of stuff because I really love that show, and I'd love for them to do just a really nice, like X Plus style, perfectly sculpted series of just all the characters. And Captain Ultra,
I'll send you a picture later then, man.
Oh, really? Oh, fantastic.
Well, not of him, but of his robot buddy. I mean, his robot buddy,
whose name is Huck, by the way.
Nice. Yeah, they've made lots of toys of Huck.
Of Huck, yeah.
Wow.
Cool. And I think X Plus may have made a Huck figure, actually.
Cool.
Wow.
Well, so what does Huck look like? Is he the bluish guy, or
Huck is he looks kind of like one of those robots that you would see in an old cereal.
He looks like a tin-type robot.
Yes. Mm-hmm. He looks like a full-size tin-type robot, but he has this thing on his head that kind of looks like he's wearing a hat.
Yeah.
I love him. I love his design. And if I had the money, I would have every possible Huck figure available.
Yeah.
But I just like, it's so silly and fun, but played straight within its strange, melodramatic world.
And like breakneck speed too.
I mean, there's never a dull moment.
Yeah.
And they often fight aliens that are their same size, but there are some Daikaiju type villains. And there's one that I really love called Galban or Garuban. And he's made of metal. What he looks like is, and I'm sure you've seen this toy somewhere, but he looks like a junkyard exploded and became a kaiju. Because it's just like all pieces of metal, and he can magnetize, so he can attract metal to his body to give him more armor.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look this guy up, it's crazy. It's just this giant pile of garbage. and I love that. I love that design aesthetic where it's like, I know what we'll do. Let's get everything that's lying around the workshop and glue it together.
They paid a guy millions of yen just to figure out the design of that.
But I love that show, and if you can, I mean, I'm sure if you went on YouTube, you'd probably be able to find some clips.
Yeah.
But I swear, you watch 3 minutes of it and you go, I'm hooked. I want to see all of this.
And is this dubbed? Is this dubbed, man?
It is not dubbed.
No,
it's not. We've never, James, right? We've never found it subtitled or anything.
I think some of it might be available subtitled if you dig deep, but certainly not all of it.
Yeah, like fan subtitles, probably.
Yeah, not widely
circulated.
Distributed.
Yeah.
Right.
Again, Kyle, you get on the phone. Call up the,
Kyle, do you know this? You know this show pretty well, right?
Next time I'm back at Toei, I'll make sure to bring that up.
Yeah.
Kyle, do you know this show? Are you a fan of the show? Or are you?
I've actually never watched this show. I've seen it, seen images of it online, but I've never actually seen it.
I think James got us. I have a disc of several episodes. I think either from you, Matt, or James.
Yeah. It's a good time.
Yeah.
Nice.
And the title again is Captain Ultra.
Cool.
Okay, I'm gonna have to check that one out, man.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to look for that one.
Yeah.
All right, I have one that is an actual Daikaiju. This one's pretty obscure, and this was actually originally a miniseries from Nippon TV. At the time, it was called Giant Phantom Monster Agon. Right. And it was released here. It was compiled into a 90-minute movie format. And here was called Agon the Atomic Dragon. And this was 1968, black and white. And it's just basically kind of like a pretty straightforward, generic giant monster thing. And it's this truck full of uranium falls into the ocean and somehow creates this giant dragon type monster. It looks quite a bit like Godzilla. A little bit rattier costume, but it looks so much like Godzilla, though, that actually apparently Toho got involved and prevented the initial airing of the miniseries for a few years because they thought it was too similar to Godzilla. Then they kind of figured it out, and eventually it was released as a 3 or 4 part miniseries. And it's it's fun. It's pretty cheap. It involves there's this other subplot involving drugs. These narcotics that are being shipped around, and the drugs are eventually fed to the monster or something, I think, at the end. But also the suit of the Agon monster was used as a couple other different villains in Space Giant.
Oh.
Yeah, so the Agon Aegon the Atomic Dragon monster shows up later in Space Giants.
Yes, that's right. And
this is actually the monster. This is so in Space Giants. This is Aron.
Yes.
Cool.
If you take the tusks off of this, that is Aegon.
That's right. Cool. That's a great.
I'm sorry, I thought it was Monster Aaron, but I'll go with your.
Aegon Aaron. Yeah.
He also goes by Aaron.
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 That's what the teacher calls him.
The Ronster.
There was a great toy. There's a battery-operated toy of him that came out.
Really?
And yes. And it was one of the loudest toys I had, actually.
Right.
You put the batteries in, and he rolls around in it, and it makes this hideous, loud screech. And you know that parents were like, okay, that thing's going in the trash or something. So
and I think like you can find the movie format version of it. You know, I don't know if it was ever released officially, but you can find that like on DVD. But it's kind of fun though. It's like I said, it's pretty cheap, but pretty fun.
Well, where would you what level would you say this is, by the way?
I would definitely give that a level 3 for sure.
Yeah.
Sean,
at least, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Aegon, that's a good call. In fact, Aegon's one of those ones that I don't really think about too often because I should think about it because it was the birth of introducing Shinichi Sekizawa, the screenwriter from a majority of the Godzilla films that you guys love.
Yeah. Right.
He was the guy that created Aegon the Atomic Dragon, and it was because of that Toho was like, no, you're not going to make that.
Right.
And they said, well, maybe you should come work for us. And so that's who created movies like Mothra versus Godzilla and Monster Zero, and the funner of the movies. Like those are the ones that he wrote.
Right.
Interesting.
Very cool.
Good.
So there you go.
Nice one, Sean.
Cool.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. All right,
Kyle, you're up again.
All right, so I've got a whole bunch of stuff written down here.
Go, man. Go.
We talked about Gappa, and I want to just follow that up by talking about the X from outer space.
Oh, please.
Also known as Gilala.
Yep.
X from outer space was brought to America, and that's why it's got that crazy name. But that movie, I think, was originally. See, this is what I was going to say about Gappa. Is I can never recall if it's Gappa or if it's Gilala that were originally created as a parody, a kaiju parody film. That's sort of the rumor is that one of those two movies was created as a parody. And it's so funny to me that I can't just tell from watching one of those which one is which, but I kind of expected it to be Gilala.
Well, just
I think it is
the design alone of that monster.
And didn't they later? Didn't they do a newer production of that, which was a parody?
Yeah.
Monster X Strikes Back: Attack the G8 Summit was created in the early 2000s, and it is a sequel, and it is really difficult to get through. It's supposed to be a comedy.
Yeah,
it's Minoru Kawasaki, the same guy who did like the Calamari Wrestler.
Yes, yeah.
It's crazy.
Whereas the original X from Outer Space, I can watch 100 times. It's so ridiculous.
Now
totally entertaining.
Could you describe what a Gilala looks like? And this is Guilala for people who really want to find out, or otherwise known as X from Outer Space. His head is not like Tyrannosaurus Rex.
No.
Yeah, he looks like so basically his head sort of looks like a spaceship. He's got these two Dealey Bopper style antennas, and he's covered in this bumpy material. And he does look reptilian with a cute little, pincer tail.
Mm-hmm.
But the best part about Gilala to me is all of the Godzilla monsters, all of the Tsuburaya and Gamera monsters. When you hear their cries, there are basically 3 different versions of it or something that they're pressing, this recording, that recording, or that recording.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But with Gilala, it's like a dude going,
yeah, over and over again.
Over and over again. You can hear the breath behind it. The guy is like, he sounds exhausted as he's making these sounds.
He's like angry.
I gotta do this last thing before I go home, guys.
Okay, just one more time. One more time. You want it clean? Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah, exactly.
And he shoots fireballs out of his mouth, right? Kind of.
Yeah, totally. Out of his little beak mouth.
And
fireballs come right out of that.
He's got 2 giant ping pong red eyeballs, right?
Or like their antenna.
Yeah.
No. On his,
his eyes.
If this was like a nice quality version of this figure, it's a nice figure, but it's not like the, screen accurate kind of figure.
Well, because it looks too good.
Oh yeah. He also has this crazy. Can you see that? He has like a little trumpet.
Yeah, like a horn or something.
Of his head too.
I don't know what that's
weird.
He likes jazz.
Well, the whole way he dies at the end, spoiler alert for everybody,
no.
He sort of like turns into this foamy egg.
Soap suds.
Weird. Yeah, it's weird. Weird way to kill a monster.
I felt bad for him. I got a tear in my eye when I saw that.
Sean, so I'd like it.
Crying in these movies. What was this? Star Trek Discovery?
Kaiju movies.
Yeah.
One thing I love about that movie is the opening title, which is completely against the type for a giant monster movie.
The music is
it's bouncy and fun and catchy.
The music to the original X from Outer Space is just like swingy, good, so loungy.
Yeah. And that movie too has like that blue outer space. There's a lot of outer space antics in the film because they're always there's a flying saucer and it's great.
Yeah, they have they have your sort of like standard space movie tropes where they've got people in the spaceship that are working on the spaceship with tools floating in the air so they have the gravity that they have to grab. And then someone gets some sort of form of space madness during the movie.
Of course,
it's really, and there's a love triangle. You can't have a good,
very cute pig
acting kaiju movie without a love triangle.
Yeah, you got the combination American actors and Japanese actors.
Yeah, totally.
Can they share a spaceship without driving each other crazy?
I have to admit, I have not seen this. I've seen pictures of the monster.
Really?
Hey, this is level 3. Is this level 3, Kyle?
I'd say it's level
3.
I'd say that's more of a 2. Come on.
Well, I gotta say the reason it's not level. No, sorry, it is level 2. I'm sorry. Level 3 was the sequel, Monster X Strikes Back. But Lala.
Because the X from Outer Space, the X from Outer Space was on television all the time, and like growing up in the 70s.
I'm sorry. I saw Gappa. a lot. Okay.
X of Outer Space must have been on like Creature Features, though. It must have been.
I'm sorry, Sean. I'm not worthy. What the hell am I doing on this show?
I'm just saying.
Larry's Market didn't buy X from Outer Space. Larry's Market bought Gappa.
Right.
Which brought a tear to my eye.
Right.
So
you have a Gappa in your knowledge. James.
You guys allow the same jokes twice on this show?
Oh, more than that. No, we make it a drinking game.
Look, we're not here to poke fun at each other over which films they've seen and not.
No,
I think this is great because we introduce films and other monsters to other people, our listeners who are not familiar.
Yeah.
So I thank you for bringing that up, and now I'm going to go out of my way to find it.
Okay.
You totally should, man. It's absolutely worth the watch. And like if you watch the English version, the English dub, it's still really got a really heavy layer of cheese on top. So it's good stuff.
Yeah.
I like cheese.
All right, James.
All right. Here's a story that's been told at least 3 times in movies, and it's a Japanese myth of a prince named Yamato Takeru.
That's on my list.
In 1959, Toho made this movie called Three Treasures, and it starred Toshiro Mifune, Kumi Mizuno, and Akira Takarada, among others.
Cool.
And it included,
like literally everybody. Everybody
all the
Toho
all
in that movie.
Yeah. And it included a monster that had 8 heads, an 8-headed dragon called Orochi. Now, this movie was not, I never saw it growing up. I had to seek it out later in life. But then it was remade. The story was retold as a Toei animated feature called The Little Prince and the 8-Headed Dragon in 1963. And then again, most recently, Toho remade it in 1994. The Japanese title was Yamato Takeru, and then it was released on DVD here in the U.S. as Orochi the 8-Headed Dragon. And
that's a fun movie.
It is.
It's based it's like Japanese mythology, right? Like the origin of Shinto religion You know,
it's literally like the birth of Japan, and it's like almost one and the same, Sean. Yeah, birth of religion in Japan is Shinto, and the birth of Japan around that is their myth of how the country came to be, basically.
Right, and it's like this epic, like 3-hour movie, right? It's like this big spectacle.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And I can see Orochi in the background there on your shelf, Kyle.
Yeah, right up there. Yeah, that's the one from Yamato Takeru right there.
Yeah. Kind of like Ghidra, but with like even more heads. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. Very Ghidra-esque in the face.
Bandai released all the monsters from the movie. There's a lava monster. There's like a samurai robot thing, and there's a pterodactyl type creature, and Orochi too. And
technically, it's a phoenix. The phoenix, that's not a pterodactyl.
Right.
Yeah, but it looks like a mecha phoenix.
I mean,
I can't reach it right now.
The figures are cool, and they came out at the time that I was amassing all the Bandais that I could find.
Right.
I think the Orochi is this huge figure with the 8 heads.
Yeah. I remember seeing that. I remember seeing the figures before I even heard about the moon. Like, what is this?
Yeah, and the sun god. Which kind of reminded me of like a benign Daimajin.
Yeah. And the original 59 film, I think, was like a huge hit for Japan for Toho, right? I think it was the highest grossing Toho film of that year or something.
Yeah, and it did get, apparently, I've never seen it, but it did actually get shopped around internationally because it is known as the Three Treasures instead of the Birth of Japan. And I would love to just see a version of that film someday. I've never seen the international version of it. I've only seen the Japanese cut.
Right.
Me too.
So I mean, I have held on to these Bandai figures since then. I can't really claim that I'm a great fan of the movie, but it's one of those things that the figures are too cool to part with. And I think the Orochi figure is probably going for big bucks now.
Does any of you guys have that one? Because I remember seeing that. It was like
I remember
too big and too expensive at the time.
It's
that's the one. Yeah, it's awesome.
Back there.
That's cool.
Yeah.
It's a big figure.
Yeah, big. He's very large.
Yeah.
It's weird. Cool. Sean, I'd seen him, but because I didn't know what he was from, he wasn't from a Godzilla movie, so I didn't bother.
It's like Ghidra on steroids.
Exactly. Well, I guess
my knowledge.
Can I just throw something in here, which is that when it comes to obscure kaiju, how many times have you discovered something because you saw the toy?
Totally.
You walked into some place and you went, "What the hell is that?"
Yes.
And then you go down that rabbit hole.
But you have to find out.
Yeah, you usually end up finding, because you're looking into that, you find 3 more things too.
Right.
Or you saw the picture in a book.
Right.
Yes, totally.
They didn't have any English, and you're like, "What the hell is that thing?"
I know, it's like so intriguing.
A Cyclops umbrella with a tongue? What the hell is that?
Right.
Yeah.
James, you mentioned that. Did you say that there were 3 versions of this? You said there was an anime.
Well, there was the anime that Toei did in '63, the Toho one in '59, and then the Toho '94.
So the toys are based on which version?
The 94.
94, yeah.
Right. Kyle, have you ever seen a figure of the 8-headed dragon from the '59 movie?
No, the only thing I've ever seen from the '59 movie is like a display maquette that was on.
Oh, wow.
I've seen prop shows and stuff in Japan, so I got to see some cool props, and they had a 3 treasures statue, and it was basically Toshiro Mifune's character, whose name I'm forgetting, so please apologies about that, but he's got his sword and he's like poised, ready to battle this 8-headed serpent.
Wow.
But it's an old movie, and so even really old movie, right? So like 1959, they had never made a Ghidra figure before. They'd never made a Ghidra costume before. They'd never made a manga before. So the serpent from the original movie is actually a little lackluster when you see it on screen. It's not very imposing. The one that they did in '94, way more imposing.
Right.
Like Ghidra on steroids, as somebody said.
Right.
It's just insane how big that thing looks.
Cool.
Well, that's a nice one, James. Again, you brought up another one that I just didn't know. You guys are doing great bringing up obscure kaijus. That's great.
Thank you, Larry.
Cool. Thanks, Larry.
Well, this, again, you guys are really knowledgeable when it comes to your obscure kaiju. You guys are wizards at this. I'm not as much of a wizard, but I still have I think a kaiju that is not as well known. And this is something that I actually saw in the theater back in the early 70s. And it's from 1971, Yog, Monster from Space, also known as Space Amoeba.
Nice.
Now, the funny thing is when people go, oh, Yog, Monster from Space, isn't it that squid thing? Well, that's what I thought when I was a kid, too. When I saw the preview, I thought Yog was this giant octopus squid-like creature that walked on this island, but actually Yog is really the space amoeba. It's more like little glowing particles from space.
It's the alien intelligence that inhabits these creatures.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what's cool is, so there's a satellite that the space amoeba lands on. It lands on an island here on planet Earth, and it goes into like a squid octopus type creature, and that makes it all giant. And man, Kyle, when I saw this as a kid, I'm looking at it as this giant squid-like creature is walking on the island. I'm like, how did they do that? How did they get this squid? How does he walk? And I just thought it was really clever the way they did it. And this was like, I guess, my first non-Godzilla film that I saw. And so as a kid, I just ate it up. And what happens with the amoeba leaves the squid creature and goes into like a giant like crab creature and a giant turtle creature,
snapping turtle,
and they're really cool looking as big. They're like real creatures, giant and somewhat mutated in a way. And I just love them. And and if you can find these toys, that
was like difficult. Also our trip in Japan, I found like beautiful X Plus style, maybe they are X Plus figures of all three of those creatures.
That's right.
And that's a movie that was later in Toho's, golden age, but like it was early 70s, I think. But but it was still, it's really enjoyable. There's lots of monster action. I believe all the creatures, the squid is named Gazora, the crab is Ganame, I think, and the turtle is Kamiba.
Yeah,
and, they're all like, it's great, and they all fight on a volcano, and it's ridiculous, but it's fun. One of the human characters in the story gets possessed by Yog.
It's so cool.
It's just ridiculous and fun.
I think the figures you mentioned, Sean, were made by Bandai Museum.
Oh yeah, I think you're right.
Beautiful job.
When I saw those, like, holy crap! Because like for me,
did you get them?
I did. Like,
good job.
That's what I love. Like finding beautiful, like, screen accurate figures of more obscure kaiju. Like, same with like Gappa. Like, yes, you can find a million great, fantastic, beautiful Godzilla figures or Mothra or Rodan, but you don't see too many ones of a Gappa or Yog.
Right.
Yeah.
And I love
that. Yeah, that Yog trio is amazing, actually. The Bandai Museum set that you're talking about is like, no one's ever made a better set of figures, and they are really expensive to find now.
Oh, yeah, really?
I only have Kamibas, and eventually I'm going to have to track down Gezora and Ganime. Because
you got to have them all.
I got to have the set.
Yeah.
So, Kyle, where do you put Yog on your level?
2?
Oh, let me.
I think so.
Yeah, I would put it at level 2 because it's not a Toho movie, but it was brought to the States as Yog Monster from Space.
Yes. So there is my somewhat obscure kaiju.
Nice.
Oh,
okay.
Nice. Also, I would throw in that in one of the Godzilla films, I want to say from the 90s or the 2000s, one of those creatures, I want to say it was Kamibas, shows up like dead on the beach, like washed up, right?
Oh yeah,
but in 2003, it's so cool.
Which film was it?
Tokyo SOS.
Yes,
okay,
that's right.
And it sort of kicks off the movie. They're like, everything's sort of normal, and then all of a sudden the JSDF or whatever the group is actually called has to head out to this kaiju corpse, and it's got this giant chunk taken out of its neck, and it's like, what could have done this? Like, well,
that's cool.
Love it.
I love stuff like that.
Yeah, totally.
Well, I know that we have talked about Daimajin in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And Daimajin, there was a series of films that were shot in 1966, and they're basically really the same film done over again. But I like each version. It's kind of like a Ramones song.
Yeah.
If you like that first Ramones song, you'll probably like the rest of them, And in a nutshell, there's always a town where there's an evil magistrate who is torturing the people.
Oh, he's horrible.
And they're always terrible, terrible people.
Yeah.
And it's in feudal Japan.
Yeah, feudal Japan. Thank you. And so they have this god that they worship, and they're always trying to get him to come and intervene in their situation. And usually about the last, 20 minutes of the film, he finally does come out and wipes out everybody.
It's like a giant
It's a big statue. And when you first see Majin, it's just like a normal statue with kind of a pretty basic face.
Yeah, not much features to it.
Not too many features. But when he comes alive, he passes his hand in front of his face. And all of a sudden, his face turns into this like Ernest Borgnine, Robert Mitchum, angry god face.
Like this fierce scowl. It's so cool looking.
Yeah, and it's so great, and I think it's really scary.
It is.
It is, yeah.
And when I was a kid, when I was watching these movies, I kind of felt like I was just waiting for the monster as you did when you were a kid.
Yes. Because all three films, he doesn't really show up until like maybe an hour into it at least.
Yeah. And and you're waiting through this story, and I'm like, okay, let's just get to the monster. But it's interesting that as I got older, I then began to appreciate the storytelling.
Yeah, the melodrama of the characters.
Yeah.
Now, Matt, isn't it true, if I remember correctly, wasn't it that this evil magistrate, he kind of taunts the people for loving this god, and don't they they take a nail or something?
Well, in the very first film,
they go, "I'll show you your god" or something.
Yeah.
And
in each film, no one believes that this god is ever going to
and they
come alive, and
they defy all the statue. They kind of
Well, each film is essentially like the good people, the people who are about to get persecuted, are the ones that believe in this Majin's god, and they're usually praying to keep him locked away. In their regular lives. Don't have your vengeance. But
Yeah.
then, like in the first movie, like you said, someone takes over the lordship's house. In the second movie, the same thing basically happens. And in the third film, it's like villagers from a wood-cutting village are being kidnapped and made to work for this evil magistrate in Hell's Valley and stuff like that. So basically, Matt's right. Like, they all basically have sort of the same impetus behind the plot of the film. Yeah.
There also are some elements of like the elements, like just fire and like water, I think is emphasized a lot in the second one. I think fire in the third one is, but yeah, there's like, it's like the God
That's
of
true.
Vengeance.
Yes. Is it the second or third one that has the snow?
The third one is the
third one.
Third one is the one with the kids in it.
With the kids, that's right.
Yeah,
that's actually my favorite of the movies. I think it's like beautiful and really gorgeously shot, and like some of the symbolism that you see in that film doesn't show up in the other films.
Yeah.
Like the hawk, for example. The hawk is a beautiful
good stuff
example of like Japanese filmmaking done right.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what's interesting to me about those films is that Dai, and that's Gamera.
Yeah.
And those movies have a kind of a silliness to them.
Yeah.
These movies are played so straight.
Yeah.
And are so beautifully shot. The cinematography and just the films in general, just as movies, are really, really good. Well acted.
Yes.
Beautifully shot. And
they look great because Dai was making samurai pictures at the time.
Right.
So they already had like everything they needed to make it.
But also,
they're fantastic movies. Yeah,
what they really do well, though, they create genuine, good samurai dramas. But because of the scale of Majin, is also really effective because he's not quite as huge as most other Toho monsters.
Right.
So when he's attacking, he's grabbing people and he's like destroying the huts and stuff. You really get a sense of he's right there because he's not like so towering that you can't even comprehend it. He's huge, just huge enough to be like really scary. And like, he probably he towers just about over like a village.
Well, right. I mean, the fact that, it is feudal Japan, so he doesn't have to be that big. Knock over a wooden building, But
it works in his favor.
Sean, I think that's a really good point, which is that it makes it a little more visceral. Like you really feel the destruction, and when he squeezes somebody, and throws them aside. You feel it, you experience it, and it's so scary. And I have a couple books that show some behind the scenes shots, and so I mean, they built a big Majin, and they use that, but then they also have a suit actor, and all those elements put together, it just works so well.
And Ifukube did the music, you know, really good score. You know, it's really effective movies.
But I also want to bring up now, since we've talked about this, there is a show, and it was the first color tokusatsu superhero show, and it's called Kamen no Ninja Akakaje, otherwise known as Mass Ninja Akakaje. And you've probably seen this character if you buy books that have a lot of these tokusatsu shows, like encyclopedias. And it's a ninja who wears like this weird red mask, and his ninja costume is kind of shiny. And the story is really basic because it's this ninja and his accomplices who are good ninjas, and they fight the bad ninjas. And the evil ninjas have their own daikaiju. And a lot of these daikaiju are really interesting because I love giant insects. Like one of the things Megalon is not necessarily the greatest Godzilla movie, but I love Megalon.
Yeah.
You know? And so in this show, there's a lot of insect type creatures, but one of the daikaiju is like a Majin character.
Oh, cool.
And I first discovered the show by buying an X Plus figure of that character.
Wow.
And the character's name is Kinmizo, and it's a stone statue brought to life. And it's a little bit more of a cartoony take on Majin, but it's still really neat.
That's cool.
Yeah. And that's a really fun show. And I've only been able to see like little snippets. And, you know, again, you go to YouTube, you might be able to find a sequence here or there. Once again, another show that I would love to see come out in any format whatsoever, because it just seems like a lot of fun. I mean, I love samurai stuff anyway. And you mix samurai and giant monsters, and
totally. And
that's my year right there.
I think all the 3 Majin films you can get on like nice Blu-ray sets now. I think Mill Creek put them out.
Yeah, Mill Creek,
affordable,
and they're lovely.
Really yes.
You know that they dubbed the third movie because the first 2 movies existed for AIP as dubs, but they basically said, well, this third movie doesn't have an English dub, and they made a pretty decent Japanese language version, but also English language version to go with it.
Yeah, because I like having both, you know, and it's great. Yeah.
On the subject of Majin, also it's worth mentioning that you know, that Gala parody, Attack the G8 Summit, has Beat Takeshi show up as a Daimajin kind of parody.
That's true. That's true.
Nice.
And isn't there also, there's a 2010 television show called Daimajin Canon?
Really?
That's him right there. Yeah. Daimajin Canon. Yeah.
And I can't say I'm in love with it.
It's not a great show.
No.
I say that basically it's an interesting take on it, but it's more of a Super Sentai style show.
Okay.
Yes.
Where Daimajin doesn't really appear. And then I basically I warn people, I'm like, it's not going to satisfy you as a kaiju fan. You know?
Right.
If you're a Super Sentai nut, I bet you'd love it. But if you're just a kaiju fan, it's not. It did not satisfy me.
Gotcha.
It'd be interesting to see somebody do a really faithful remake of Daimajin and make it feudal Japan.
Yeah.
I'd love to see a nice mixture of suit and CGI. Interesting to see. But that being said, those movies I think are perfect.
I'm not going to disagree with you there. I was actually going to say, like, I don't think we need to see a modern remake, even though I'm always up to see somebody's modern take on something classic.
Right.
But like those movies are so close to just perfect movies. Yeah. They are what they are because of when they were made, and they are just really, really good. So
and
well done.
All shot in the same year.
Yeah, they're all And Matt, like you said, it's really fascinating that Dai, you know, because as the Gamera movies went on in the 60s, they just became more and more childish and ridiculous. That's fascinating, but you realize, wow, Dai could actually still make really well-made kind of adult monster thriller adventures too, you know?
Yeah.
Well, these are a lot. The Daimajin movies remind me a lot more of the Zatoichi series than the Gamera series because it's the formula of, you know, the mistreated villagers the vengeful, a hero that's coming to save them.
Yeah. Also produced by Dai, right? Isn't Dai?
Right. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Well, I have one now. This is the other end of the spectrum as far as this is not serious, realistic stuff at all. And now you guys probably all have heard of this, but I've been guessing most people have not. Probably this is a level 3, and that would be a children's TV show from the 70s called Kure Kure Takora, also known as Gimme Gimme Octopus. This is a very strange. I don't know how to explain. Okay, it's a children's show, kind of like Sesame Street meets a City Marty Krofft show on tons of drugs, and it's the strangest show. They were like really short little segments. Actually, the series. I think they're only a few minutes long each episode, but basically, Kure Kure in Japan is like a phrase meaning "I want it," or "gimme, gimme."
Gimme, gimme. Yeah.
Yeah. And so
later turned into a Black Flag song.
Yeah. Basically, the main character is this kind of like greedy, kind of like an asshole little octopus who is greedy and wants everything he sees. And he lives in Wonder Forest. And he has his various other characters. He has this best friend named Shanbo, who I think is either a peanut or a pear. I'm not sure. There's also this kind of sexy pink walrus that both of them are kind of after. There's also this kind of bad like jellyfish. And the thing about the jellyfish is it shoots vinegar out of its head. And the thing about the octopus is terrified of vinegar because a popular dish in Japan is Sudako, which is pickled octopus. Which has So the octopus hates it when the jellyfish shoots vinegar out of its head, so he solves this problem by always putting on a hat on the jellyfish.
Smart.
Yeah, so it's insane and bizarre. I have several episodes of it. It's not dubbed, or I don't think there's even subtitles. Doesn't matter. You just have to watch it. It's so bizarre. There's a fair amount of figures released. I have a vinyl figure. Also, my wife for my birthday got me one of those tricycle figures of the Gimme Gimme Octopus. But it is insane. And I would like to just read you the loosely translated lyrics from the song.
Go.
Please.
It goes like this. Gimme, gimme, gimme. I want everything. Gimme, gimme octopus. Up from the ocean, I got hot and sunburned. Why must I live at the top of the tree, viewing all my desires through a telescope? I want the stars. Gimme, gimme octopus.
Wow.
So that's the loosely translated lyrics of the song. It is, but I love the figure. I love the look of the character. It's like this it's bright red octopus with the googly eyes, and it kind of looks like a super crazy cartoon version of Octoman in a way.
Oh, yeah. No,
I mean,
that.
that's kind of like, it's so bizarre, and all the costumes are so weird. And like I say, it's kind of like if City Marty Krofft did even more drugs and moved to Japan and made a show. That's kind of what it is. And it's pretty obscure. I would say that's probably like a level 3. I mean, I don't think most people have heard of it. I don't think the show was released in America anywhere.
No, definitely not. Yeah.
But Kyle, you're pretty familiar with this show, right?
I'm familiar with it in the fact that I know what it is. And I will say, I'll just name drop. How about that? I'll do a celebrity name drop. I did get to hang out with Kure Kure Takora in Tokyo one night at a Godzilla event.
You mean like the guy who played the character in the suit?
No, not in the actual show. But
the real guy.
They had a mascot there. They had the Kure Kure Takora mascot at the museum.
Way!
And my friend, awesome. my real life friend Yusuke Miki was inside of that costume. So
wow.
Because there was a fair amount of merchandise for it, right? I mean, like I said, you can find figures and
basically. There's an American show, like a kids show, that was heavily inspired by Kure Kure Takora.
Like Yo
Gabba Gabba.
Yeah, totally.
Totally inspired
I can
by
see that.
show.
Yeah, but yeah, I agree. But it is worth watching. It's like, man, it's out there.
It's hit a little bit of a resurgence lately, like in recent years in Japan. So like those figures you have, Sean, those came out somewhat recently, right?
Yeah,
especially the one on the trike.
Yes.
And then they've put some stuff in the Godzilla store that you can get from that Takora series. It's really adorable in its own kind of way and just bizarre. So weird.
Yes, very weird.
Very obscure.
There you go. Yes.
You know, I'm not a big fan of octopus. Are you guys? Do you guys like?
Really?
Yeah.
You guys do.
Takoyaki.
Yeah,
Sure.
I just feel like I just
balls?
no, I just feel like I keep chewing and chewing, and I just get it's just not for me. It's not my
rubbery.
thing.
If it's
It
cooked
seems
right.
like you need the right serving of takoyaki to really appreciate the octopus.
Yes.
Right.
I love
There you go.
octopus in any. I mean, very few sushis I dislike.
Me too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I've even gradually over time got used to like sea urchin. Yeah.
Really?
Uni,
Wow.
uni, right?
Yeah.
Uni, yeah.
They say there's more protein in a little piece of uni than in a whole steak,
Really?
Yeah.
but it has the consistency of snot. So
Thanks, James.
See, I've
Kyle,
been
if we-
eating my boogers for years.
Yeah.
protein,
And I
protein.
finally was like, what am I doing? Why don't I just have some uni?
There you go. Kyle, if we can back up for just a minute, because I think I heard you mention Godzilla store. I heard that there's a new Godzilla store in Tokyo.
Really?
There is a Godzilla store that opened, I want to say, in 2015 or 2016. Yeah.
Where is it? It's in Tokyo, right?
It's in Shinjuku. So if you go to
Shinjuku.
Nice.
if you go to the hotel, right, then you're just like maybe a 15-minute walk away from the Godzilla store.
Really? Oh man, that's awesome.
Now-
That's my
now-
dream.
What I always have to warn people about, especially if they're planning on a trip to Japan, is that the Godzilla store is it's called an annex inside of a bigger department store.
Okay.
Okay, right.
Marui department store. They have a couple of buildings in Shinjuku, and their annex on the bottom floor, the main floor, excuse me, that's where they have the Godzilla store. But they've got a ton of stuff there that is exclusive to the store. You can't get anywhere else.
Wow.
And it's, some of it's very expensive, but at the same time, if you're up for that kind of stuff, like,
Wait,
understand
like,
the
no.
exclusivity of it. You know?
Don't give me that crap. Like, are you saying are you like a silk
Kyle.
like a silk Godzilla shirt or something, or like fancy Godzilla socks?
Have you seen those? They're called souvenir jackets or sukajin jackets that have the embroidery on the back.
Oh,
so there's
yeah.
some Godzilla ones that cost about $400.
Oh my god.
Wow.
What about
you can get those
decanters?
there.
What about decanters? Do they have a Godzilla decanter there? I
don't know if I've seen a decanter. I've picked up some sake glasses from there.
Do they have a Gappa apron? That's what
They won't have a Gappa apron at Toho's Godzilla store. You have to go to the Nikatsu store for that.
That makes sense. So it's for the high end Godzilla fan. Is that what you're saying?
I mean, basically, they've got some toys there, and they've got some small price stuff, but they've got some big price stuff too.
Yeah.
It's like,
Is there a store?
I know people that have been like, I wasn't impressed. I'm like, how could you not be impressed? It's a Godzilla store in Japan.
Yeah.
Those people are dead to me. Does the
They're on notice.
Does the Grassery have a store?
It does not have a store. In the lobby of where you would check into your room, they have like a little souvenir rack that has like tiny little stuff, but nothing really impressive. In my
Seems like a wasted opportunity.
Well, if they did have a store, it would be a grocery store.
Oh,
that one took a minute. Okay.
So look, for people who don't know, if you haven't checked out our wonderful Monster Party Goes to Japan video, I mean, we go to the hotel Grassery, where it has the giant Godzilla head on top, and there's the Godzilla room. But when we went, they hadn't had the grand opening yet.
Right.
We weren't able to go in. Now, Kyle, I take it you've been in the Godzilla room that they have there?
Yes, I have. I've been actually twice.
Yeah. Is it $500 a night?
Yeah. How much is it?
It's $500 per night. Yes.
Wow.
But it's worth every
stuff,
penny.
Right? Don't you get some?
You do get
swag?
stuff. Yeah, you get actually in a couple of weeks maybe. I'm gonna have some more KAIJUCAST videos, and I actually have an unboxing video of all the stuff that comes.
Oh, cool!
With that room. But yeah, it's expensive, and it's not anything that I would ever actually just sort of shell out just for one night in Japan. But because I was there with a bunch of people, we sort of all chipped in.
Oh, that's the way to do it.
And they let you do that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
All right.
I mean, unless the authorities are watching this, and then I did not do that. That's
no. But Kyle, look,
we're talking about a different brasserie.
If you're a Godzilla fan, no, this is supposed to be like the ultimate Godzilla room. You go in this room, and it's got a giant Godzilla figure. It's got a giant claw. It's got this window where you can see the giant Godzilla head. And isn't there something on the window? Isn't there an etched?
Yeah. So yes, if you look on the window that looks out into Shinjuku, like this sort of like what would essentially kind of be like extremely downtown style Tokyo, there are these. It's either etched or it's vinyl that looks like etching of silhouettes of kaiju with information about how tall they are. It's supposed to sort of be like if you were looking out of the city and Gigan was destroying that building, he would line up to about that size.
Oh my God, that's so awesome.
Visual thing.
It's
pretty cool.
I mean, I know it's, you think, $500, that's kind of expensive, but I mean, if you've never been to experience this whole Godzilla thing, it just sounds like it would be a great thing to do.
We got split 4 ways. We can do that.
I think we should do that. Seriously, I really do.
We have to.
Because when Ultraman Land was around,
right,
I went twice, and it's a tiny little place, but I loved it. First of all, it's out in the sticks, so you really got to take a number of trains from Tokyo to get there. And once you get there, you feel like you're on an alien planet or something. And you finally get to this park, and I was just so happy to be in a place where there was an Ultraman theme park.
Totally.
I didn't want to leave. And so I think that I would feel the same way about that room. Just the idea that there is a Godzilla room in a hotel and everything is Godzilla.
Yeah.
It'd certainly be worth a fourth of $500.
I mean, I understand Kyle's like, he goes, I've been to the room a couple times. I go to Japan every year and, I rub elbows with the Godzilla actors. I get you. Yeah. But for someone like me, who I don't get to go to Japan as often as you, I don't get to rub elbows with, the Godzilla actors like you. But to me, to actually go to this Godzilla hotel and to stay in this one room, and that's the thing that drives me nuts. You look at the hotel, they've got like 200 rooms. They couldn't make 2 Godzilla rooms.
That's a really good point. That is a very good
one floor of Godzilla rooms. Yeah.
I mean, don't you think people would be coming there from all over the world? So Kyle, when I call, how far in advance do I need to make this reservation?
Ooh, that's a good question. I should actually know that because basically a lot of things in Japan work so that you can't even reserve it up like until a certain amount of time is counting down. God, I don't even know how to say that right.
It's like a certain window.
Yeah, it's like there's a window. It's like if you're going to stay there within 3 months or something, you could probably book it. But if you were like trying to book something a year out, you might not be able to do it.
Okay.
All right.
Oh, great.
So what I will say is that at least for the episode here, the Godzilla room is 2 single beds. It has a gigantic Godzilla hand coming out of the wall behind the beds and sort of hovers over the people who are staying in the room.
That's worth $75 right there.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not actually saying that it's not worth.
Why do you hate the Godzilla room, Kyle?
I'm a cheapskate when it comes to staying in Japan. $500 for one night's lodging is usually outside of my realm of possibilities. But
there's 2 of you. There would be 2. There's 2 beds.
There you go. Yeah, if there's 2 of you, if there's more of you, splitting the cost, always a good thing.
Sure.
Also, around the room, they have like storyboard art that's been turned into wallpaper. And then they do have a display case that has. This is why I think this is the answer to your why don't they have multiple rooms like this? In that room, they actually have the Godzilla versus Destoroyah head that melts.
Wow.
What?
It's on display behind glass in the room.
Wait a minute. Whoa. The real one?
I think so.
So what, cool. Kyle? They can't buy another Godzilla prop to put in a different room?
He's still not happy.
This is cheapskate alert. Yeah.
Now I heard
get the Godzilla hotel people on the phone.
I heard a rumor, Kyle, and maybe you can give me the skinny on this. Okay. Now I heard a rumor that when you use the bathroom in the Godzilla hotel room, when you flush the toilet, it makes a Godzilla sound. Is that true?
I don't know if it does a Godzilla sound, but basically the entire bathroom is sort of done up in this really weird etched, lighted plastic, I don't want to say wallpaper, but tiles almost, and you press buttons and they light up.
Really?
It's almost like you're in a comms room, but you're in a bathroom.
Oh, but I love blinky lights. I love it.
Yeah.
I mean,
what's not cool is when the light goes out on you, and then you're sitting there going like, where the hell was that light?
That's crazy.
We also have a gigantic Godzilla statue that's sort of cut in half this way.
Yeah.
And it's up against a mirror. So when you walk into the room, there's this mirror that you're sort of looking at. It makes the room look massive, but it also doubles that Godzilla, makes it look like a full Godzilla.
Isn't that clever?
That's cool.
Yep.
That's
And then the icing on the cake is that there is a button you can press on the remote control that turns on a entertainment feature, which basically plays this video on the TV screen, and it's interactive. The beds shake and the whole lights go on and stuff like that. It's pretty cool.
Oh, come on!
That's better than I ever expected.
In the video that I post about the unboxing is that entire presentation, and they changed it a couple of times too. So
we gotta go, guys.
We got it. We got it.
And I'll bet you maybe after as this whole thing is subsiding, maybe we can get some discount tickets. I don't know.
Oh, that's cool.
All right, Kyle, you're up again.
Okay, so I'm really kind of torn, right? So I could tell you guys a newer film or an older film. Which ones are you guys leaning towards?
Give us both.
Both? Oh man, okay.
No, give us both. You're our guest.
Yeah. But we'll start with the older one. Okay, so around, I don't know the full details of this because it's one of the movies that I sort of pushed away towards the end of doing our Daikaiju discussions on the show.
Ooh.
Attack of the Super Monsters.
That was the one I was going to list.
Attack of the Super Monsters?
Yes.
Wait,
Attack of the Super Monsters.
This is the part animated one, right?
It combines tokusatsu and anime.
Yeah, it is bizarre.
Me too.
I love it because it's so weird.
It's Tsuburaya Productions, right?
Yeah, Tsuburaya had a show called Dinosaur War Eisenborg. And that show combined animated pieces with live action pieces. And then that was sort of supercut, like several other Tsuburaya shows were, into a movie version, which is
like in the early 80s.
Right. Yeah, it's Attack of the Super Monsters. Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah,
and,
it's like intelligent talking dinosaurs come from underground and take over the world. And they talk. Did they talk in the Japanese version too?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I haven't seen the Japanese version. I've only seen the American version.
Yeah,
in the American version, the guy who does the big giant dinosaur talks like this and go, destroy, kill, murder.
That is, Kyle, that is uncanny. You should do a one-man show.
That is fantastic.
I kind of do already.
It's like a team of like a super elite team. They're kind of half cyborg or something.
It's almost like Gotcha Man.
Yeah,
right? You take Battle of the Planets. Take those people and like rearrange how they do things. It's like two people that turn into one. And what happens in the movie, apparently, because again, I've never really seen the television show, the movie takes like several episodes and smashes them together.
In a blender.
In the series itself, they didn't get to where in the series Eisenborg actually shows up, which is the Ultraman style hero. So there's an Ultraman style hero in the actual television show from Japan that never made it into Attack of the Super Monsters.
Right. Yeah, I remember it was like a cheap like EP like VHS tape. I remember like finding like at Suncoast or something. Like, what is this?
I've got it on DVD.
On
DVD or something.
I think I got it from you, Matt. Now the DVD version, but
there's also a really weird relationship between the male and female lead, if I remember correctly, in the American version. That's uncomfortable and a tad sad.
Of course.
Well, they sort of combine, right? There's two cyborgs that combine into one, and it is bizarre. Yeah.
And this is one thing. I don't know if this is my own theory or if I read this, but I swear that could be possible because it's Tsuburaya. I think the T-Rex suit is the same T-Rex suit used in The Last Dinosaur.
I believe that is correct.
I'm pretty sure it is.
No.
Yeah,
I believe that is correct.
Right.
Damn.
So there you go. That's a good one. That's
a great one.
Worth watching. It's
a good
bonkers.
One. So what's your other one?
My other one was a newer one, and this is not one that I would actually suggest. We're just talking about
That's okay.
Yes, obscura.
It's called Death Kappa. Have you guys heard of it?
Oh, I've heard. Yeah.
Death, not Death Gappa.
No.
No, but very close.
Kappa, like Like a yokai.
Kappa, like exactly like a yokai.
No, why wouldn't you recommend
imagine a monster Kappa. Well,
it's not that great. No.
Is it comedy or is it more serious?
It all started with the director Tomoe Haraguchi putting out a video on the internet basically saying, hey, how's it going, American fans? I want to make a classic style Japanese movie, classic style tokusatsu film, using the Showa era style of making films. And I was watching this video going, oh, I'm sold, man.
Really? Yeah.
Like, let me in on this. Like, I want this to happen. And because this dude has actually done some other cool things that I really like, I had high hopes for it. And then I was really excited for the movie to get released. And when it finally got released, I was like trying to find it on DVD. And my buddy Bob Johnson from Sci-Fi Japan was like, yeah, dude, you're not going to like it. It's not very good. And I was like, well, that's not hopeful. So I did get the movie and I popped it in, and it is not anything what I was expecting it to be. It is comedy. It is over the top. It is, I think if you are and I'm not the kind of person that doesn't like movies like Machine Gun Girl and Tokyo Gore Police. I like those movies, but I was expecting Godzilla, and I got this weird ass, bizarre Japanese comedy underground film called Death Kappa out of it. And it's just, I'm not going to say don't seek it out, but maybe watch a trailer first and see if it's up your alley, and then check it out, because it's got some weird crap in it.
Manage your expectations.
So it's Death Kappa?
Death Kappa.
Because Kappa is like a water. Kappa is like a water yokai, right?
Yeah, water
demon.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you've seen the second yokai film from Daiei, the Great Yokai War.
Love all those.
The beast, the little monster that lives in the pond in that lord's house that gets taken over by the vampire, that's a Kappa.
Okay.
That's one of my favorite movies. I'm telling you.
Love it.
I love that trilogy.
Yeah.
And actually the third of that one is my favorite of the.
Yes.
Really? Wow.
I love that one.
It's kind of a companion piece to the Daimajin trilogy, because it's also Daiei.
That's
three films in feudal Japan that come out within a year and a half, which essentially the same themes, down the
they're revenge films. Yeah,
they're revenge films. Yeah.
And also shot really well.
Yes.
And I always argue that maybe when you look at some of those yokai now, there's an HR puff and stuff kind of an angle. But as you watch the films, they get better and better.
Yeah.
I mean, you really get on board with the whole style and feel of the world that it creates.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm dying for somebody to release those 3 Daiei yokai films on Blu-ray at some point.
100%. Yes.
But yes, that's good.
Well, right. Kyle, look, I know it's my turn, but I'm just fascinated with your Kaiju Obscura, and the one I've got it's maybe level 2. Can you give us another one? Can you take my place and give me another obscure kaiju?
How about we do, instead of an obscure actual monster or monster movie, we talk about an obscure kaiju movie that's not necessarily like a new like, have you guys heard of Godzilla?
No.
How do you spell it?
Cozzila, I think.
Oh, is that Luigi Koji? Koji was the guy who made Star Crash at one time was going to make a Godzilla film, right?
No.
Well, he took the 54 Godzilla film, colorized it like on an acid trip, added other footage into it, like other war footage and other destruction footage, and basically released his Godzilla. It's insane.
Can you find it? Like, where do you find this? Is it available?
I think you could probably get it on like the fan market kind of thing.
Is it like a feature length?
Yeah, it's feature length.
Really?
It's a full.
Wow. Yeah, I've heard about that.
So wait a minute. When you say he colorized Godzilla and then used military footage, like from World War II or something, and combined?
Yeah, like imagine taking more footage, like stock footage from war films. And then integrating more of that, more destruction scenes.
Wow.
And basically, when I say colorized, I don't mean like a handcrafted colorization where everybody's trying to look natural. It's like reds and oranges. And it's almost it's like psychedelic.
Wow. I want to sound fascinated though to check it out.
I'm in. Yeah.
Yeah. Because that guy's really interesting. I mean, he has. I don't know if he still has. Yeah, and Luigi Koji still has, like his own store in Italy called Deep Red, and like he just sells. He sells merchandise and sells horror stuff and his own stuff. And I don't know if it still exists, but he had for a long time. The store somewhere in Italy where he just hangs out there and sells stuff.
No way.
So the description of this is the film is a re-edited Italian language dubbed version of Godzilla, featuring 80 minutes of footage from the original Godzilla and the US version, plus 25 minutes of World War II newsreel footage and clips from other monster 1950s movies.
Wow.
The re-edited film was then colorized via a process called Spectrorama 70, which consists of applying various colored gels to the black and white footage.
Wow.
The film also features a new music score composed by Vince Tempera under the pseudonym Magnetic System. It's really, there you go. There's another Obscura reference.
That's good.
That is obscure. That's a level 7, I think.
It's Kozz, C-O-Z-Z.
So that's like a nickname, right?
Yeah,
so like,
because his name's Cozy.
Yeah, he released it as Godzilla. Like, that's the actual name he released it in 1977. So, and actually, I'm pretty sure there's a really great article on Sci-Fi Japan about the creation of this, where John DeSantis interviewed Cozy at a convention.
Awesome.
I've never heard of this. Nope. That is a level 7 to me.
That's cool.
That's great.
Nice one, Kyle.
Excellent. Slam dunk.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. James, can you top that?
I cannot top that now.
What's the point?
I will bring us now to North Korea, where in 1985, dictator Kim Jong-il apparently kidnapped a film director to have him make his giant monster movie epic, Pulgasari.
Sorry.
This monster looks sort of like a bull.
A little bit.
It's got these horns, and it's really strange film. Not particularly competent, not particularly interesting. Just as a curiosity, the fact that it was made the way that it was, where it was, and
kind of Majin themed,
definitely,
right?
Very much.
Yeah, a little Majin mixed with like King Caesar to me.
Exactly. I was also the subject of a 2015 book by an author named Paul Fisher, who went into detail about what Kim did in order to make the thing, which is more interesting than the movie itself.
I'm sure.
And at G-Fest, I actually saw an action figure of Pulgasari.
Wow.
It was probably, I don't know, $500.
Oh my God.
It's like way beyond my price range. But
that's a huge figure, though. That thing is like big. I can't even really think. It'd be huge, like that big.
Right. Yeah, I took a picture of it. I'd like to find one, maybe 6 or 8 inches. That would be pretty cool to have in my shelf. But
cool.
Marmot made one.
They did?
Yeah, it's not as hyper realistic. It's a stylized vinyl, but Marmot made a Pulgasari figure.
I just want a representation of that kaiju.
Yeah.
I hear you.
Yeah.
Now, James, the Pulgasari, I mean, what are the effects like? Didn't they spend a lot of money on making this big monster film? I mean, aren't the effects really good or
they're not bad. They're not bad. It's just that the entire thing it doesn't have much momentum. It doesn't have much pace. It's just kind of leaden. I didn't find myself invested in it at all. I'm just kind of watching it from a distance.
Now, but is it something that I can get that's like dubbed, or is it just subtitles? Subtitles.
Yeah, it's never been released here, so far as I know.
So this is like a fan thing that I would have to.
Like a bootleg.
Yeah.
Are you sure
and
it
it's
hasn't
also
been
one
released?
of those movies that's like, it's also, well, I think at one point ADV may have released it, but it's not like they had the rights to release the film. So it's like, that's why it's not available now, is because no one's going to North Korea and be like, hey, let me get Kim Jong-un on the phone right now.
Kyle, get on the phone.
Hey, Monster Party in North Korea.
Yes.
Call your
Pulgasari Fest.
Go to the Pulgasari Hotel.
Just a
I'm
room.
sure North Korea would love to host you guys.
Just might as well just take us directly to prison.
That's a good one.
Oh my!
There you go.
Nice
Okay.
one, James.
All right, Matt.
I've got one, and it's a film that you can get on DVD. It's not the perfect quality copy, but it is available, and it's a film called The Magic Serpent,
The magic.
otherwise known as
I like that one.
Decisive Battle of the Giant Magic Dragon,
Ooh.
Right.
1966. You guys know this film, right?
Yeah, that was on my list.
Matt, I think I've seen toys of it. I don't think I've ever seen the film.
Yeah.
And the dragon, tell me about the dragon. Isn't it a beautiful...
The dragon looks quite a bit like Manda.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Still very cool. There's also another creature that looks like a toad,
Right.
horn in the middle of its head.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
a good amount of kaiju action. There's also a lot of fun sorcery stuff, and the story is pretty.
Yeah, isn't it kind of another? It's it's another feudal Japan kind of thing, right?
Yeah, feudal Japan.
Yeah, it's a little more like a sword and sandals kind of story than a kaiju story.
Like this guy seeking vengeance. I think
another vengeance story too.
Father was killed. Yeah,
Yes.
he learns magic and can turn into things. And there's a giant spider, I think, too.
Yeah,
Really cool.
a spider woman.
Yeah, yeah.
Ooh.
That was one that showed up on like late night TV every once in a while. I remember. It was
But it is
not very
really
often.
fun, and that's a movie that hits the ground running. I would liken it a little bit to Wu Warriors of the Magic Mountain because it's just nonstop sorcery, kaiju, samurai fun.
Yeah,
I love that movie.
That's a good one. Yeah, I think
that's one that I wish actually would come out.
Yes,
on Blu-ray.
yes, I agree.
Because the only copy that I have, it's part of a double feature that's with Return of the Giant Monsters, the Gamera American film.
Yeah.
So it's on there, but it's not the greatest quality, but it's definitely watchable.
Yeah.
But that film needs to have a really nice release.
I agree.
I think X Plus did some pretty good figures for that one.
Yeah,
Was it
really
X+?
nice. Really
Cool.
nice.
Good. All right. Well, here's one that I think you guys will be familiar with, but it's pretty obscure and it's a pretty weird movie. This is from 1977. It's called Legend of Dinosaurs and Monster Birds.
Oh, no, I don't know.
This is a weird one. I think it's Toy, maybe. I'm not sure of the company, but it's weird because it's kind of like, this is 77. So I think they were kind of cashing on both the popularity of Jaws and also of like the Loch Ness Monster stuff. It's all takes place around Mount Fuji. There's like an earthquake. It releases like a plesiosaur kind of thing and like a pterodactyl. And some of it's really goofy, but then other times it's pretty intense and gory. Like this woman gets her leg bitten off, I think, by the plesiosaur, and it's pretty weird, but it's kind of entertaining. It came out on DVD a while back, and it showed up on television. I think maybe like back in like the 90s, like TBS would show it, or something like Monster Vision maybe would show up. But it's a weird Legend of Dinosaurs and Monster Birds, but it's kind of entertaining though, and apparently. I read that it was like a huge hit in Russia. I don't know why.
Interesting.
But anyway, it's worth checking out though. And another one I threw out there, this is one I've never seen, but I've always heard about. And maybe James, you may have this or seen this. This was a 1962 film from Dai Studios called The Whale God.
Oh yeah,
and it was basically a Japanese version of Moby Dick, and there was like a kaiju, which is like this giant whale. And I've seen stills and photos. It looked pretty impressive, but that's one I've never seen.
Yeah, Shintaro Katsu is in it, Zatoichi actor.
Oh wow!
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So that's one that there's another one that I want to check out.
Kyle, have you seen either of those films?
I've seen parts of Whale God. I haven't actually finished it. Whale God's like one of those kind of. It's a little uncomfortable to watch people like killing whales and like cheering people killing whales just because of what we know today. You know,
Right.
But it, it totally was like a legitimate industry back in the day, and so the Whale God is one that I need to finish watching at some point. But yeah, it's black and white film, kind of slow.
Yeah.
The family loses. I want to say in the very beginning, the family that continues throughout the rest of the movie loses their father. And then the kid grows up and gets killed by the same whale, and then it's At some point, I'm sure someone gets its final revenge.
So the whales win.
Yeah.
The whale was winning when I left. Yeah.
There you go. There's one. I think this is pretty pure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this has been great.
It has been great.
It's been awesome.
I mean, you guys have brought up a bunch that I wasn't familiar with. And Kyle, you're just terrific, man. I mean, thanks for bringing these up.
We could do 9 more of these.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, totally.
There's no shortage of obscure kaiju.
No way.
Well, what do you say we do a lightning round, huh? You want to do
lightning round?
Couple so, Kyle, you got maybe 1 or 2 that you could just give us really quickly there?
Are they just quick movies?
Quick
anything.
movies or quick monsters or quick whatever, anything.
Okay, just real quick, Sakuya Yokaiden. It's a movie. We talked a little bit about the yokai films from the Dai trilogy. Sakuya Yokaiden is a movie from 1999 or 2000 that basically is sort of a modern version of a female yokai hunter who has a little brother who's a kappa, actually, like an adopted little brother.
Wow.
And yokai are released when Mount Fuji erupts, and they've sort of gone throughout the land and they've just destroyed a whole bunch of areas. And so Sakuya and her team of ninja and her brother are supposed to go defeat the Spider Queen, who, if you haven't seen this movie, the one reason that you have to see it is that Shinji Higuchi did this scene at the end where the Spider Queen is fighting Sakuya and then gets huge, gets gigantic. And so she turns into a Daikaiju-sized monster, Spider Queen, fighting this tiny human-sized demon hunter chick through an Edo-era village and just destroying everything with lightning coming through from her fingers. It's beautifully made. Beautiful.
Wow. Cool.
Wow.
That's a nice one.
That's great. Yeah, I want to see that.
Okay, well, maybe this is the level 2 kind of obscure one. Again, it's not Godzilla, but what about Frankenstein Conquers the World?
Yeah, great movie.
The funny thing about this is it's Frankenstein, not Boris Karloff Frankenstein, but like a Japanese Frankenstein that grows and basically fights Baragon. And some people have mixed feelings of it. I mean, I like it.
I love it.
I love it.
When I saw these as a kid, I always, I get it's a guy in a suit. I always wanted to be in a suit, but here, Frankenstein, it's a guy.
He's scary. I like him.
But he's great.
Yes, exactly.
That's from the golden age of Toho giant monsters.
Yeah, from 1965. So it maybe not the most well-known one, but it is a fun one. Okay.
I watched that. You know how you watch
Creature,
Godfather 1 and 2 almost as one.
Yeah.
I watched that and Gargantuas as one.
Oh,
right.
Yes, Matt. Yes.
Yeah, I love that movie. That's a great choice.
Thank you, James.
There was a series in 1967 called Kaiju Bogey, which they translated as Monster Prince from a company called P Productions. And it was about, again, a kid who befriends a monster. And this one's a dinosaur. It's a brontosaurus named Nessie. This is 26 episodes, and the villains in this are aliens who killed Nessie's parents. So for the run, Nessie fights these aliens. There's 2 sets. There's a first set that's like gargoyles, and then there's another set that can fly, I think. Mm-hmm. Kyle, are you familiar with the show?
I'm only familiar with the name. I've seen imagery from the Monster Prince, but I've never actually watched it. I know they did a movie version as well, but from around the same time. Yeah.
You can see some of it on YouTube. I think some of it's in Spanish for some reason. But Kaiju OG. And I also want to take a second and talk about some of the yokai monsters again, because as often as we brought it up, we haven't talked that much about the individual monsters. And some of these are just really striking. And then some of them are from mythology, but they turn up over and over again in imagery, and they're in the Dai trilogy. But the umbrella creature is called Kasa Obake.
Love it.
And I had seen that thing in books, and I was like, what is this thing? And then finally to see the movies, it's wonderful. And to find the figures, like Tomy did a lot of different companies did beautiful figures. There's a woman with a long neck that just grows and grows. That's Rokubi. There's a penis monster.
Now, wait a minute. They say it's a mushroom, but we all know.
Oh, no. Apparently it's called Noperabo. There's another female monster with she turns her head and there's a face on the other side of her head.
It's like pretty and then ugly on the other side.
Right, right. We mentioned the kappa. There are so many others, but they're great. They're wonderful. And now
once again,
actually
talking about kappas, I love some of the attributes of a kappa, like the fact that the kappa has a bowl or a dish in its head.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And there's water in the bowl that keeps it cool.
But that's why it has a flat head.
Right. But kappas are very courteous. So if you bow to the kappa has to bow back and it'll spill its water. And that's a way of getting away from the kappa.
Yeah, I love that. I love yokai. Actually, I've got an entire cube over here dedicated to yokai.
Awesome.
And lots of yokai books. It's almost like kaiju from actual, not giant monsters, even though some of them are giant, but yokai are kaiju from Japanese mythology, basically.
Yeah.
So they're not real, but they are. I mean, are they real? Who knows? Yeah.
Kyle, aren't there some places where they actually think that there are kappa in certain lakes in Japan?
Okay, so the answer that I have for this is yes, because Japanese and there's the Shinto religion and the Japanese, and I know that a lot of times people will bristle when I try and make a wide overarching statement about an entire culture.
Sure.
So I'm aware of that. But basically, Shintoism as a religion is not really like a super organized religion. What really boils down to is that the Japanese believe in animism, which is that everything has a little bit of spirit in it. Mm-hmm. Even if that's like the rock down the street, if that rock's been there a long time, it's going to have some power to it.
Right.
That's kind of, they believe in that. And so when you ask, aren't there places in Japan where they, really believe this, really believe that? I want to say, well, yes, there are, because they sort of do believe in that base level of, yes, there's a thing, that thing has a living essence to it.
Right.
But I don't know how far I would actually take that in terms of how much people actually believe, but they do have certain areas that have utilized their local myths to bring people in for tourism and stuff like that. Like there is a kappa lake where you can go and see this statue that will come out of the water.
That's cool,
man.
We gotta go. It's like Bigfoot or Loch Ness Monster here. It's like
totally.
That's cool.
There's a legend of a kappa that's very well educated, and that's the Phi Beta Kappa.
You are on fire.
That's great.
You guys know that there's a kappa shrine.
I want to put some water on the top of your head.
There's a kappa shrine in Asakusa in Tokyo. If you ever go back, you can actually find the shrine. There's kappa statues all around it. You can leave a cucumber as your offering.
Yeah.
What part of Tokyo is this?
Asakusa. So right where Sensoji Temple is, it's down the street from that.
James, make him a note. Make a note.
Yeah.
Well, and there's also Kappabashi.
Yeah, that's actually Kappabashi is what that's all about. Yeah, Kappa Street basically.
And that's the restaurant district where if you have a restaurant and you want to buy stuff for your restaurant, there's a whole street that you can just buy everything, including the fake food.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Nice. Nice one, James.
Nice.
Matt?
Okay. Well, I've got two, and they share a theme. I love Kamen Rider, as you guys know.
Yes, we do.
Mm-hmm. And the first Kamen Rider series that I ever saw was not really a series, but it was a movie called Kamen Rider Zio. Directed, and a lot of the designs, or all the designs, were created by Keita Amemiya. And
Keita Amemiya.
How do I say it again? Please tell me.
It's Keita, so it's K-E-I, right? So Keita Amemiya.
Keita Amemiya. One more time.
Amemiya.
Got it. Amemiya. These are the things I need, because I'm constantly hacking to death Japanese names. So thank you. But
no problem.
After Kamen Rider Zio, he did Kamen Rider J. And Kamen Rider J is unique because this is the first Kamen Rider who, as part of his normal powers, can actually grow giant like Ultraman. And he fights this. Initially, it looks like it's like a citadel or an evil headquarters that looks like this giant, dark, Gotham-esque castle. but the castle is really a kaiju. Fog Mother.
Nice.
Called what?
Fog Mother.
Fog Mother.
And
wow.
So Kamen Rider has to grow giant because at one point in the movie, Fog Mother starts walking around and behaving like a kaiju, so he has to fight Fog Mother. And it's awesome. So you've got Kamen Rider as a giant. Lovely. But that's not the only time that this ever happened, because there is a special that they did that was a crossover between Ultraman and Kamen Rider.
Wow.
They did in 1993, and it was to commemorate the 25th anniversary of Ultraman and the 20th anniversary of Kamen Rider. And most of it is really just a series of clips from both shows. Mm-hmm. They show a lot of, nice little montages of special effects and fights, and they show you all the different things that each Kamen Rider can do and each Ultraman character can do. But at the very end, they do this great little, it's a short segment where there's a giant monster and Kamen Rider and Ultraman team up.
Cool.
Wow.
Kamen Rider grows giant and aids Ultraman in defeating this giant monster. And
that's awesome.
It is fun, especially if you're coming into the world of Kamen Rider and Ultraman. It's a nice way of just showing you how much fun that you're going to get from both these series. And you're also going to get this great once-in-a-lifetime team-up.
Yeah, that's cool.
Can I actually piggyback off what you were just talking about, Matt?
Sure.
If, for extra lightning round stuff, you mentioned Keita Amamiya, the director who did the Kamen Rider movie that you were talking about. Amamiya also is the guy who made the Zerum films, if you guys are familiar with those.
I love them.
Yeah.
Love
Zerum
them.
1, Zerum 2. In addition to those, he did a feudal era movie sci-fi film where aliens...
Moon Over Tao.
Yeah, Moon Over Tao. That's what I was going to mention. Like, that movie is a fantastic monster movie. It's like really beautifully done. In addition to that, he does a series called Garo, like modern series called Garo, which is amazing. And then he did a series in Kaiju Wise. He did a series in 2000 called Iron Warrior Mikazuki or Tekoki Mikazuki. And essentially it's kind of like a Space Giants kind of thing. You have a giant robot that's summoned, or like Gigantor, or you know what I mean? Like, so he's got this robot that's summoned by this little kid, and it has to fight these kaiju in the city. And it's a really ambitious project for the year of 2000. I think it's maybe like 4 or 5 episodes, something like that. Totally worth checking out.
I love all of his work. Even though I can't pronounce his name, I love him. And I also enjoyed his Hokkaido short film. He came to Monsterpalooza, and I had him actually sign my Kamen Rider Zeo poster.
Nice.
Yeah, he's super cool, that guy. He barely looked up at me, and he wears these sunglasses.
Yeah.
But I loved it. He's the greatest.
I was stoked when they brought him to Monsterpalooza. I was over the moon over Tao.
All right. Hey, Sean, why don't you bring us on?
Well, this is one. Okay, so this is one that you guys are all familiar with this film, but I don't think it's always thought of in terms of its kaiju, because there's pretty unique kaiju in this movie. This would be from 1969 from Toho. Latitude Zero.
Oh,
Latitude Zero.
I love this movie. This movie is a crazy kind of pulp comic adventure. It's Joseph Cotton. He rides around the ocean in this super submarine, and there's this like utopia world at Latitude Zero in this dome, and nobody ages. And of course, his arch nemesis is Cesar Romero.
That's so great. Good.
Dr. Malik. And he also has his own super submarine, and he performs these crazy experiments. And Malik, of course, has some monsters that he's created. There's like these kind of like regular sized Batmen, like they're like half bat, half men, and they're really cool looking. They fly. They've got like these giant man-sized rats. But the craziest kaiju in this movie is Malik has this like assistant, this like female, kind of the sexy Asian female who like loves him and wants to do everything for him, and she's always trying to please him. But he's evil, so like when she messes up, she kills her. He takes a lion, and then he takes an eagle or a vulture, tears off the wings from the bird, sticks them on the lion, and places his assistant's brain into the lion and turns it into kind of like a griffin type kaiju, and it grows too. So then they have this giant kaiju, lion kaiju thing with the female's brain in it, attacking Joseph Cotton in his submarine, and it's ridiculous and insane. And there's a little figure, I think it's a Iwakura, which I have, of the Batman and the lion figure, and it's great. It's just crazy.
It seems like an awful lot of work to get away from. Yeah, Ghoster.
Yeah, really. But that's a really fun film, and like I said, it's not like completely centric on the kaiju in it, but there are kaiju in the film that are really fun.
Yeah.
Hey, Sean, do you think that was influenced in any way by the Rankin Bass flying lion character from?
It is kind of like
from Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
King
Moonracer.
Moonracer. It is kind of like King Moonracer, yeah. But that's a fun one. I mean, Cal, you know this film, right?
Oh yeah.
I love
Basically, they're gold lame costumes.
Oh my!
Everything you need to know about that.
You got Akira Takarada, you got Linda Haynes, Richard Jekyll. Yeah, it's a great kind of international cast. Really fun.
And it was all shot in English too. So
yeah,
really interesting.
Yeah,
nice costumes for the ladies.
Yes, yeah. Linda Haynes looks good in her outfit for sure.
Oh, nice one, Sean.
So there you go.
Yeah.
Oh, Kyle, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Yeah, Kyle, thank you.
Wonderful.
It was so much fun. So much fun, guys.
I mean, your knowledge of kaiju is just unbelievable. But now, could you tell us now? I know there used to be a KAIJUCAST. What are you doing now?
Yeah, so the podcast ended in 2019. I figured 10 years was a solid amount of time to say
whatever
project. But we ended in 2019. But the idea is that the KAIJUCAST as an entertainment generating kind of brand, I guess, is going to continue making videos. Because the entire time I was doing the podcast, a lot of it was me thinking, man, some of this content could make a really cool video. So I need to actually, I'm going to be taking some classes on After Effects and some stuff like that. And there's going to be a lot more video content coming from the KAIJUCAST in the future. But in the meantime, I've been working on a show called Collect All Monsters with 4 other co-hosts from around the country.
That's cool.
Collect All Monsters.
Collect All Monsters. So that's David Dopko from Seattle, Leslie Chambers from North Carolina, John Ruffin from Pennsylvania, and Christine Chapin from New York. And we basically have a monthly live stream episode where it's sort of, we just talk about collecting kaiju toys, essentially.
Now,
not just toys, anything kaiju related.
Is this like something on YouTube or in a particular site? Or?
Yeah, we're doing it on YouTube, yeah.
That's awesome.
Nice.
Although I think we're probably going to start, the software that I use allows you to stream it to Facebook too, so we might start doing it on Facebook.
Oh, that's cool, yeah.
But yeah, that's been the kind of like the new big project. And then I've got a couple of other things that I've been working on. The next episode, by the way, airs May 16th, and it's all dedicated to kaiju model kits. So it's called Model Mayhem.
Cool.
Nice.
I did the commentary for the upcoming Arrow set of Gamera 2, where the upcoming Arrow Gamera set, I did the commentary for Gamera 2.
I heard about that. Yeah, that's cool.
I'm super stoked about that one. That one, I think it turned out pretty good. I actually had to cut stuff out of it. I had too much to say.
Hey, I have a little question for you about Japan and some of your tours that you.
Sure, yeah.
The last time I went, it was the second time I went to Kaiju Sakaba.
Mm-hmm.
And so I want to know, are there other places like that you've discovered that may be off the beaten path, that maybe we don't know about or other fans wouldn't know about, that we should check out?
You know about the Kamen Rider Diner?
I've heard about this. I haven't gone. Is that any good?
Okay. I have never been myself, but I did hear about it. Plus, so there's the Kamen Rider Diner. They have pop-ups all the time, though, which sucks because something will happen and you'll be like, whoa, I want to check that out. Oh, that's going to be gone 6 months before I even get back.
Right.
Oh, wow.
But there's 2 Kaiju Sakabas in Tokyo right now. One is in Kawasaki, which you guys have been to, but there's a new one that opened up in Shimbashi. If you haven't been to that, it's much smaller.
Okay.
Shimbashi Station is like in Tokyo proper.
Okay.
But in terms of like other locations where you can have that kind of experience, I've never seen anything else. Like they totally need a Godzilla restaurant at some point, but they do not have one.
How can that not be one already? Yeah.
Well, they just, I mean, Toho has really, really taken their time getting up to speed on some of this stuff. Like, they just opened the Godzilla store. Like, how long? They should have had that opened.
They've always been like that. Yeah, they just don't they either don't want to, don't have an interest in like totally exploiting that brand. You could do it.
Yeah.
Or it's like they don't understand.
You can release a Godzilla anything. I mean, like,
I think they're finally getting a hold of that stuff. They're finally getting that idea through their brains that they need to capitalize on some of the stuff, like a restaurant, a cafe. So they've been doing more pop-up experiences. Like they did, I was there last year in November when they had Godzilla Fest, which is the birthday party for Godzilla that they throw. So there's lots of cool stuff to do there, but that's just for the one day.
Yeah.
Where's the Disney style theme park?
Yeah.
Animatronics all over the place. Like,
they could easily do that.
Such a natural.
Well, I've never been able to go to any kind of Godzilla style theme parks, but apparently next year or this year they were supposed to open it. There's supposed to be an island off the coast of Japan that is going to do a theme park where they're going to have, like, I think a life-size Godzilla, like a Shin Godzilla head.
Shin Godzilla, yeah.
Wow.
You can go inside him, right?
I think, but at the same time, they had something on display, but it was just like a maquette. So I don't know how far into that they got before this whole coronavirus thing hit, and how that may have thrown stuff off. But
they could easily do something. Yeah,
I would love to see that because I missed out on anything that happened in Japan before 2011, and so seeing things like from 1994 where they had like the Godzilla ride at I think Sanrio Puroland, like. I'm dying to go back in time to check that out. And like Ultraman Land, I'm super jealous that you went to Ultraman Land because I never got a chance to go there.
Yeah.
There's a tiny little, it's almost a kiddie ride where you'd be in this little car and it would take you through these scenes from Ultraman. And what was so great about it is that even though the ride was kind of done like a kiddie ride, the scenes were done perfectly. Like all the statues.
Oh, awesome.
Characters were lovely. So I missed that place.
Now, as far as the Toho output, I heard there will be a sequel to Shin Godzilla and King Ghidorah will be involved. Is this true? Have you heard anything about this?
The Shin King Ghidorah is actually from Universal Studios. Universal Studios did a Shin Godzilla ride experience, and throughout that, I've never seen it because I have not been to Universal Studios Japan, but I think it morphed. Like they had one version of it, then another one later, and the second version I think had Shin King Ghidorah because I've seen figures of it.
Wow!
Yeah. That's a weird looking King Ghidorah.
Will there be a new Toho Godzilla movie anytime soon? Do you know?
Okay, I went to Las Vegas a few years ago and met with Toho to try and ask them what their plans were, and because there was a lot of confusion about the agreement between Toho and Legendary and
Warner Brothers.
I still don't really know what the deal is with Toho. And like, I know that what he told me was that they wanted to make their own movies. They had a plan in effect to start making their own movies, but we'll see how that goes. I mean, basically, I wouldn't count on anything coming out of Toho until after Kong versus Godzilla.
Right.
That's true. Yeah.
It's so funny because Shin was so popular.
Yeah. So I thought I had heard though that at the time, soon after that they were going to make another Godzilla film, but it wasn't going to be like Shin Godzilla at all. Like when Shin came out, it was so completely different.
Yeah.
And I heard that the next one would also be something just very different.
Like a standalone.
Which I'd be fine with too. I mean, just as long as they keep making them.
Yeah.
I haven't heard anything specific, but I want Japan to keep making those movies. I want them to make good movies, though.
Yeah,
right.
I don't want them to just make a Godzilla movie because they want to get back into the habit of pouring X amount of yen into a movie that's going to premiere at the same time every year. Like that's tired and played out. Don't do that. You know?
Right.
Like that's why I think Shin Godzilla was such a smashing success, is that it took current events, it took the current climate of Japan, and it worked with that in the script to sort of show how the same like the tsunami events, right, could be played out as a giant monster.
Yeah, exactly.
And it was so well done. I don't like when people were freaking out thinking like, oh, there's not going to be a sequel to Shin Godzilla. I was like, good Lord, no. You don't want a sequel to that.
Yeah, I don't think they don't have to do that. Right. Yeah.
I never looked at the end of that film and thought, I can't wait till the sequel comes out,
Right.
I would like to see a 15-minute short of what happens when all those little guys on the end of Godzilla's tail wreak havoc in the city. That would be pretty fun.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm with you on Shin. Like, I thought
I'm more for the sequel to that short where they all have to get jobs and they have to become salarymen in Japan with their like Godzilla funds.
Right.
Yeah, you just work them to death.
Yeah, right. Yeah. That's how you really defeat the Godzilla. You like put him to work.
Well, Kyle, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Kyle.
For being with
Kyle.
us.
Please come on again too, because we should have done this a long time ago.
I know, and
I'm happy to come back on.
Yeah. And I know that hopefully, G Fest next year. Hopefully, we can get together. It would be great, but we've got to have you on the show again. Thank you so much for being with us.
And so let's have a toast to Kyle and Kaiju Obscura.
Kyle and Kaiju Obscura. Woohoo!
Kampai and
oh my God, is that Gulaya?
No, he's gone.
Time for listener shout out.
Shout out.
This goes out to Shane Hanafe.
All right.
Hey,
Hanafe. That is a great name.
Who's been awesome about tipping us off on Facebook to conventions and products and shows. Like he brought up Collector's Call on MeTV.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Any of you guys watched this show yet?
No, but
someone else?
Yeah. It's with the Facts of Life person, right?
Yeah.
What's her name? That? Lisa?
Yes.
Lisa. Yeah,
really?
not Tootie. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Is she Tootie? She's not Tootie, right?
No. She's not Tootie.
Yeah. Okay.
He was the hot one.
She was. Yeah. She still looks good, too.
She does, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Shane, thank you very much. We appreciate your support. And also to Nicholas Fusare from Elmira, New York.
Nicholas.
Ooh, Nicholas.
Nicholas actually wrote us a message saying, would you all do a video of your collections or maybe some of your favorite stuff you've collected?
That's right. Yeah.
Nicholas, thank you for the suggestion.
That's a good idea.
Appreciate that.
And we're going to try to do that and fairly soon.
Yes.
We're going to get our cameras and we'll probably dole it out in little chunks.
Yeah. We'll have to because our collections are so massive and awesome.
Yeah. You don't want the Ken Burns of our collections.
But Nicholas, thank you for the suggestion. We appreciate that. We appreciate your listening. And let's also remind our listeners that you can find us on Facebook and YouTube at Monster Party TV. Our Twitter handle at Monster Party HQ. Instagram is also Monster Party HQ. And whatever platform you're listening to us on, please take a moment and write a review. We would love to hear from you, and we will read it on the air.
That's right.
Yes, we will.
You'll be famous.
You will.
The big time.
But speaking of famous, I think it's time to welcome our new Monster Party Patreon patrons.
Hey!
Here we go. Randall B. Perkins, a.k.a. Percasso. Randall.
Hey,
Picasso.
Thomas Edward.
Thomas. Welcome, Thomas.
A man named only as Kevin.
All right, Kevin.
Kevin.
We might get his last name someday, but I like the mystery myself.
Yeah.
And Jason Benham.
Jason. Welcome aboard, buddy.
Ooh. Welcome aboard. You are now special Monster Partiers.
That's right.
Thank you.
And if you'd like to become a Monster Party patron, just go to patreon.com, search Monster Party, click join, follow the instructions. We have one tier of rewards for $5 a month. And with that, you will receive bonus audio, video, and other content. Oh, and by the way, this is from Patreon itself. And they say this is an early heads up that we're being required by law to start applying sales tax to some pledges from Patreon.
Oh,
US,
no.
17 other countries starting July 1st, 2020. Now, from what I read, this will probably be about, I don't know, maybe 50 cents or 75 cents, but it's not going to be a lot. And their quote is, they say, we estimate that less than half of all patrons will have sales tax added to their pledge. And for most of them, the amount will be very small. So just want to let you guys know that that's what's coming. It's not in effect yet, but it doesn't look like it's going to be that much more. So anyway, that's that. But also, this is very important and very exciting. We have a new batch of Monster Party t-shirts. That's right. We finally have them in possession. They are Monster Party logo t-shirts with the special feature of glow-in-the-dark.
Glow-in-the-dark stuff is cool.
Yeah, I mean, we all love glow-in-the-dark stuff.
Yeah.
And so what you will get is, you'll see the regular greenish Monster Party logo.
Classic logo.
The logo that we started with. But when you're in the dark, the outline of the Monster Party logo will be glow in the dark. And in the Monster Party store, we will have pictures of what this effect really looks like. And I think you're going to be pleased. I was really happy when I got them. I put on the shirt and I went out into the yard in bright sunlight. Came back, really nice glow effect.
You were glowing.
I was glowing. I was glowing with pride.
Nice, Larry. That's awesome. I can't wait to wear mine.
Yeah, these shirts are going to be $20, including shipping. And we also have another set, a limited supply of caps, too, with a slightly different style. Check them out once again on the store and see if you like them. But we got about 12 of them right now, and they're going to be $20 with free shipping.
Such a deal.
Yes, but if you are a Monster Party patron and you buy either a t-shirt or a cap, you will receive extra gifts of our choosing.
Extra gifts.
But we will fill a box with some items along with your t-shirt.
Yeah.
But this is only an offer for Monster Party patrons. So yet another reason to become a Monster Party patron. Get these lovely free gifts and all the wonderfulness that we provide.
That's right.
On that note, I am Matt Weinhold.
I'm Shawn Sheridan.
I'm Larry Stroth.
And I'm James GONIS.
Keep America strong.
Make friends with an obscure kaiju. Like you, Octopus.
Gimme, gimme, gimme. I want everything. Gimme, gimme Monster Party.
Mr. Toyman.
Jason Lindsay.
Jason Lindsay. See that picture with him in my
I was so jealous. He was at some show or something, some event where Mike Nesmith was there.
Yeah, I didn't think he did that. I didn't think he did that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think so either, but I think what's that, Sean?
At this age, why not? Why not,
Hey, I mean, they're getting up there.
Yeah, yeah.
And I've been going through all the Monkeys episodes.
Yeah.
And I forgot how great they are.
Yeah, they really are.
Like really innovative TV.
Totally.
At the time.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff some of the gags and it's almost like Looney Tunes where this is the joke for the kids and here's the one for the adults.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only thing, Sean, if you saw the photo, and it's like Mike, I mean, he's an older guy now.
Yeah,
so he looks old. And I'm thinking, shit, would it have been that difficult just to put on the fucking beanie
I know.
cap? I mean, come on. Put on the fucking beanie cap.
You know what? We could have had a John Carpenter moment if he showed up with the beanie.
Could you just put the beanie? It'd be really quick. Just, let's try it.
And we put like a 20 inside the beanie.
I would have done that.
Just put on the beanie.
Look. It's like, look, it'd be really quick. Just would get a quick shot.
I'm Michael Nesmith, and in this generation, I like Monster Party.
No, he'd say, I'm Mike Nesmith. I like the Monkees, and I like Monster Party.
Yeah, that's good. I was trying to work in one of his songs,
Listen to the band and listen to Monster Party.
Yeah. What am I doing hanging around this podcast?
Yeah.
Or he'd say, and keep buying liquid paper. Or this
podcast just may be the one.
Yeah. But
I love Mike. It's funny how as I get older, and I loved Mike back in the day, but as I get older, I think he's my favorite.
Well, you also forget that he became a successful movie producer in the 80s.
Oh, yeah.
He produced Time Rider, which is a really fun movie. That's with, and a couple others too. I can't remember what, but was it Repo Man maybe?
I thought it was Repo Man.
I think he had something to do with producing that too, yeah, which I love.
If I'm wrong, well, I'll cut it out.
Yeah.
But I always glommed on to him because he seemed like the cool one. All right.
Hey.
Kyle Yount in the house.
Cool.
What is up, everybody?
Hey, Kyle.
Hey, Kyle.
Oh, with the flag.
Nice.
Look at that.
Nice.
Look at that.
Cool.
Unbelievable.
Pro move.
Nice shirt.
Nice.
I'm wearing my Monster Party tights. So
Oh, wait.
that'll be. Oh, hey. All right.
Cool.
If only we could be as together to have little flags on our mics.
I like the next thing will be the suspended mic instead of the actual mic stands.
Right.
Like Orson
we
Welles.
bought mic
It's
stands.
always good. You can always make good video and radio with these things.
That's true. Yeah.
It's great too because you really look like your classic 50s DJ.
Yeah.
There's an Alan Freed thing going on there.
Cool.
I should just yell, "Screonk!" to be the intro to my new shows.
Great to see you, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seeing you guys. How are you guys all
Thanks so
holding
much
up?
for being here.
Yeah. We're hanging in there.
We're all doing well, right?
Right? Considering the world's gone insane.
It's funny how you look at every background and then you go to James. James is in the shed outside.
Couple of figures back. Oh, there we go. Okay.
Godzuki and a trowel.
Oh.
Look at the Godzuki figure.
Yeah, where'd you get that?
G-Fest.
Oh my god, I want that.
Yeah.
Is it like a custom?
What was that from?
Yeah, it's like a resin. No, one of the vendors had it. Yeah, I think you were with me.
So here's a question: Did anybody ever make a figure of the Hanna-Barbera Godzilla?
Kyle?
No.
Not like a legitimate one.
That would be
the
good.
closest thing you can get for like a mass-produced thing is the Godzilla that came from the Godzilla versus the Tricephalon game.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
It was a play set. It was a play set, not a game.
Play set, yes.
Thank you.
But they should make a Godzilla and Godzuki figure set from that cartoon. That would be awesome.
Somebody should.
Wait a minute. Who would buy it?
I might buy that.
Just because of
All five
Godzilla
people would
completist.
totally buy it.
I might have to buy that. Even though I kind of despise that cartoon,
but it's so weird though. It's
I might have to have that.
Yeah, it's a fascinating little blip in the history of Godzilla.
For sure.
Hey, I bought the Bandai figure to the new Godzilla anime. I mean, if you're a completist, you're going to get everything.
Yeah, every incarnation of official Godzillas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah,
they're all over there. They're all around me.
Oh.
Have you ever seen our studio?
I have not. Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
If we could have gotten you down,
Well, we will eventually.
Yeah, when you're in town.
I'll be back down, man. I'll be back. I mean, you can't keep me away from California.
Yeah.
We'll fucking Andromeda strain this bitch.
That's right.
So Kyle,
Don't
I know.
miss the red light.
Yes. So Kyle, just to let you know how we'll roll. I'm sure you've listened to the show a bunch of times, but it's like Matt kind of introduces the show.
I introduce the show.
Okay. Matt introduces the show.
Thank you.
And then we introduce ourselves. Matt will say what the topic is. And
I
then
kind of introduce that.
Yeah, and then
he sort of kind of vaguely kind of does some stuff.
Yeah, I dance around it.
And James will introduce you, and once you're introduced, then we'll go to town, okay? And then towards the end, Kyle, when we get to the end, and we're going to say this is great, and Kyle, can you tell us what you're doing right now? And
plug your stuff.
Because now you're doing the YouTube stuff, right?
I'm doing the YouTubes, baby.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
YouTubes and beyond, really.
What's beyond?
Beyond?
I got some.
You got a Netflix show.
Okay. No, cool. we don't want to open the present before the birthday, so I get it.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
and James told you what the topic is, right?
Kaiju Obscura.
Okay.
Yeah.
Larry sends a message last night. Okay, guys, so the topic is Kaiju Obscura. And James, you're going to introduce 24 hours before the fucking podcast. An email asking who's going to do the intro.
See, the funny thing is, you think that's funny. You think it's ridiculous.
Think it's funny.
The people I work with, I need to do that.
So you're in work mode.
Me too. Like it's constant email confirmations.
You can't. Yeah. I know Matt's Mr. Casual. Hey, let me.
He is Mr. Casual.
No.
And then
I don't even know if this is recording.
Mr. Cocaine Casual.
Yes, he's loose.
Excuse
but
me.
It's like I can't. The people I work with, you just can't do that. It's like you have to follow up and say, "Oh,
I have to do it casually."
Do you like this? Is this approved? You telling me?
Exactly.
I have to rib you because I'm bored. I have nothing. Yeah. I'm in home quarantine.
Yeah, really.
And I know you can take it. So there's that.
So, Kyle, how big is your good monster collection there? How is that your whole thing there?
Okay, no.
This is a 14-foot wide room, and so essentially it's 14 feet this way, and then about probably 35 feet deep.
Wow.
And so basically the collection of toys goes around. Okay, so it starts here at the door.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay, and then kind of wraps around, sorry, bad camera angles, wraps around this way to where I'm sitting down here. Hi. And so there's a bunch of figures that way. And then there's my DVDs and stuff, and there's more stuff up front, but that is a fucking train wreck right now because my projector's busted. But we watch the movies over there.
Cool.
Wow.
Who designed your KAIJUCAST logo there in the back? That's pretty cool.
That's awesome. That one?
Yeah.
Tom Whalen. Tom Whalen, a Mondo artist.
Nice.
I reached out to him for the 10th anniversary of the show, and I was like, hey, man, would you be interested in doing a poster? And he was like, dude, I listened to the show.
Wow.
It was amazing.
Kyle, do you have a favorite collectible? Something in your collection that you're particularly proud of?
We might want to save that for the show, actually.
Oh, nice one, James.
Good call.
Is it obscure?
No, but I do actually really like the idea of kaiju oddities. We actually did a panel at Rose City Comic Con called Kaiju Oddities, but
cool.
I actually, we talked about movies, kind of like what we're going to be doing here, but I actually love little weird collection things, and we talked about in our last Collect All Monsters episode, like what's the weirdest thing in your collection? And I have a figure from a series called Gotoichi Kaiju that's like a kaiju panda bear. And it's like really well sculpted. It's gorgeous, but it's over there. I'll show you guys later.
Wow,
nice.
It's a kaiju panda bear.
Mm-hmm.
Is it close to the panda bear at the robot restaurant that comes out and does the battle?
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
No.
Oh yeah,
those are cool.
All right,
I pissed him off.
He's had it. How dare you? How dare you besmirch pandas? Oh, look at that!
Oh,
wow, that's cool.
Wow,
that's actually scary.
It's awesome, right?
That's really cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
That should be the panda at the robot restaurant.
Yeah.
Hey, I wonder when the last time was that they cleaned that costume.
Yeah, really.
Because the last time I went, it's funny. We all went to the robot restaurant, and we had a great time. And it was like we're all watching the show, and it's like, oh my god, I'm finally happy in my life. and then I go with my wife like about a year later. And we go, and I'm like, you're going to love this. and they put us in the front, that front row where you got to kind of duck.
We have to like get decapitated. Yeah.
And so the problem is we're way too close. So we could see every little paint chip, duct tape,
Wow.
And the show was a little shorter, and they added more breaks so they could sell stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, isn't this great? It's great. So, yeah, it's all right.
I guess we went at a good peak time.
When we got it, it was. And they didn't do the thing. Remember, you guys, when they did that thing where they would get somebody out of the audience?
Yes.
Get into the robot.
Yeah.
The robot.
Yes.
That must have ended in a lawsuit, I'm assuming.
Right.
All right.
Oh, my God.
You want to start this thing?
Yes.
Totally.
Let's do it. Are we good on audio levels?
Oh, yeah. I'm just curious. Is everybody sounds good to everybody else? Yes?
Yeah.
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 Okay.
Yes.
Everybody's lovely. All right, let's do this. There's a helicopter going by because I live in Van Nuys, home of the body bag. Here we go. Wait a minute. All right. Yeah. That was Atragon going by. Oh, huh? Having fun, Kyle?
Yes. It's a party.
It's a party. Okay.
By the way, that panda bear is really obscure.
No, that's awesome.
That is like
great.
I mean, I want to learn all about that on this
keep
show.
that at the ready.
That is.
He's right here.
Here we go. How you doing, Kyle? Everything okay?
Yeah, I'm doing great.
Excellent.
Having fun.
Awesome.
Right.
Hey, Kyle, you're doing a great job. You're doing a great
thanks,
job.
man.
Wow.
You've done this
super
before.
Nervous.
Hey, all right. So just,
there's a couple times you kind of got lost, like you were, like you didn't know what to say, but okay, we're all friends here.
This guy doesn't know what he's talking about, this guy here.
Cool, man.
Yeah, I got to take a quick break, too. I'll be right back.
Okay. I'm fine.
Me too. I'm doing well.
So, Kyle, I know, I've not yet been able to go to G-Fest. I know the last couple.
Same here.
Yeah, Matt and James went. And it's too bad, of course. I know for this year they had to cancel it, but hopefully the next one, I'm going to try to go.
That'd be awesome. The next one's going to be in a new hotel, and it's supposed to be a better hotel.
Oh, cool.
The last hotel is called the Crown Plaza, and I've been there years and years and years.
Yeah.
And it just, I mean, I love G-Fest. I love that show. I love the people. I love the stuff I do at the convention, but that hotel sucks a giant dong. It's terrible.
Really?
Huh.
Really?
Okay.
See, the funny thing, Kyle, is Sean and I did go to G-Fest when it came out here in Hollywood ages ago.
Oh, yeah. I was at the one in 99.
So that's when Larry, when Hiro Nakajima, was that right?
That's right. Sean and I.
We saw him together for the first time.
2000.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nakajima came in 2000 because I was there for the year that Shusuke Kaneko came and showed Gamera 3.
Okay.
Well,
we went to the one where Nakajima was, and it was great because Sean and I, we were trying to time it. The line was really long. We went away, came back, and they said, "Oh, sorry, the line where we stopped it." And I did this whole spiel about, "Oh my God, this is why we came here." And he goes, "Well, you guys go ahead." And so we got to go, and we were the last two to meet that night. And I got this great picture of Sean. I got a great picture of me.
Yeah, it was great.
But the highlight was, I guess they were planning to show the original Godzilla at the Egyptian Theater, which is down the street. And what was cool was I got to see it there with Nakajima and his wife in the audience. And at the end of the film, he comes walking down. He's walking on Hollywood Boulevard, and I was just walking behind him, going, "Oh my God." Godzilla's walking down Hollywood Boulevard. It was such an amazing. It was a weird, amazing.
Yeah, it's weird, surreal.
Yeah, it was.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Yeah, I'm really glad that I got to meet him. But you got to meet him when he was young and spry compared to where I met him.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now
considering though, even as he got up there in age, I mean, he hung in there for a long time.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
The girl who was with him, that was his daughter, right?
Yeah, Sonoe. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
to phonetically say Monster Party.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got him to say it.
At the last G-Fest, they did a tribute to him that his daughter accepted on his behalf, and she was so touched that she wept.
Oh.
And that was a beautiful moment. It was really touching. I mean, it was one of those things that collectively the entire room, I think, was just really touched by it.
That's
to be fair, she had just watched the end of Gappa.
True, yeah, there wasn't a dry eye in the house.
Already ready to go, yeah.
Yeah.
She was lovely, and what I love is that this guy, after doing this thing he did this back in 1954, 54, and here he did the character 15, 16 times, and these other things. How cool was it that as this older man, he was able to go to America and see the love and just admiration for him? It was just so touching. It was so wonderful.
Yeah, they don't have that kind of stuff in Japan too, right?
No.
Right.
What do you mean? What do you mean that they don't
have conventions? They generally don't have conventions where you're like, I get to go see these classic characters or classic actors from my favorite movies as a childhood.
See,
they don't have the Comic-Con experience. They recently started doing Comic-Con there. Yeah. And they have had stuff like Super Festival and Wonder Festival where they have sort of adopted bringing celebrities to those shows. But that's
a new thing?
Twice a year. That's pretty new comparatively.
It seems insane to me. This is something that I think would have been huge over there. But
yeah. But so the reason I brought it up is Nakajima spent years of his life essentially not being like loved outside of just his family. Yeah, recognized. Yeah, exactly. Like basically years and years, he just sort of was just kind of whatever he was doing in Japan. I don't even know what he did in between his time. Right. I have his autobiography, but I can't freaking read Japanese. So that could do me any good. But yeah, like it's amazing to me that I think that it's great that the people who have been bringing these guests to America have been doing so because
like Akira Takahata
right, totally, yeah. If you I've been able to meet so many of those people here and then see them in Japan later.
Yeah.
When they brought everybody from Ultraman,
oh my gosh,
I thought I was like I died and went to heaven, like because the idea of like I remember watching that when it first came out, like when it first hit American television as a little kid. And it was almost like a fever dream of like, is this really happening? I can't even believe a show like this exists. And then all those years later, here are these people right there. And it's just
they're so friendly and cool. And
So I went to an exhibit. There's a traveling exhibit that also changes. It's not the same thing every time because it's called the DNA of Tokusatsu. Or Tokusatsu no DNA. And basically it's a number of prop collectors that have sort of consolidated what they have and they put it together in these museum exhibitions. Mm-hmm. And they're gorgeous, really well done. Mm-hmm. And I've met Ben Furuya from Ultraman several times. Mm-hmm. In fact, I've spent a lot of time with him just in general because for a couple of those shows, I was actually there hanging out with the people behind the table for the guys who bring the guests and stuff. So Furuya-san and I actually spent quite a bit of time together. He didn't know that I was going to be there at this event. And I'm not kidding. That event was amazing. Like when I get the video for that finish, you guys got to see that. Basically, everybody in the Japanese film industry, from like the Godzilla movies and tokusatsu stuff, was at this opening event. And he was there, and like I saw him walking around and stuff like that, and I was saying hi to people, but then like I turn around at one point and he's just kind of Kyle-san, like grabs my hand and shakes it so violently.
Wow.
It was like, oh my gosh, Ultraman knows who I am.
You are living
That's
the dream.
incredible.
That's awesome.
He looks terrific too. Like
really
so good.
I've seen the DNA, at least one DNA book of that traveling show with all the props. Mm-hmm. It's amazing. That's a beautiful book. I don't know how many there are, but
I think there's a couple different ones that have come out. I'm not sure if they did one, but the most recent show that they did was all dedicated to Gamera.
Wow.
So if they put out a book for that, I've got to pick that one up.
That's cool.
Companion piece to my other one.
Now, James and Matt, I don't know if you caught this, but Kyle mentioned that the next G-Fest is going to be at a different hotel.
Oh. Well,
so after years of being at maybe a crummy hotel, hopefully
Crown Plaza.
Yeah, they're going to go a step up.
I wouldn't say it was crummy, but
listen to Kyle.
I would. I've been there many years. Well, okay, so they have like 3 or 4 at least elevators, and with the exception of this past year, they never fucking work. It's like one will work, and then you've got all these people in the convention trying to use 2 1 or 2 elevators.
Okay.
Wow.
The hotel, you guys you were there last year. You felt how warm it got in that convention.
Well, that's true. Yes.
Right?
Yeah. No, that's terrible.
They had it was so bad that last year, which was the worst year, like that.
No, it was
so
bad
that they had fans in the freaking panel rooms.
Oh my God.
You know, like,
right.
yeah, they just can't. The problem is that show is too small at that hotel, and that it's just outgrown it in every sense of the word. Like, too many people packed into that small area. I'm very happy that they're moving to a different hotel, even if that means the show gets a little more expensive. I think it's good.
And the rooms sell out so far in advance. You cannot book that hotel even anywhere.
It's weird.
For a year in advance. It's crazy.
I guess the part that I found sort of charming about that show in that hotel is the fact that it is small, and so it makes it feel like it's a bigger event.
Mm-hmm.
True.
I can see that, but I think the next hotel I don't think is going to be such a big upgrade that it's going to be like, whoa, there's nothing here.
Sure.
If they moved it into, I'm dying to know what would it take for them to move the convention into the convention center across the street.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Because it seems like if they were able to figure out how to get like even the smallest room in the convention center that had like a couple of panel rooms attached to it, they could have Artist Alley in the same room as the dealers, and they could have the model kits on display in a certain area. It's just like they're so limited in the hotel where they're currently at. I'm very happy that it's moving to a different hotel.
Right. Well, it's like with Monsterpalooza, when they finally moved that to a convention center.
Totally.
What that allowed was for there to be more dealers.
Yeah.
And more panels. And so hopefully that's what happens with this, because I personally like the bigger Monsterpalooza. It's just tables and stuff as far as the eye can see. Yeah. So that would be really fun for a Godzilla convention.
Totally. Yeah, I completely agree. I'm looking forward to. I'm bummed that it's not happening because I love going to the show, but I'm very much looking forward to seeing the show in a different venue. And that show has been getting more and more people. It makes perfect sense that it's outgrown the current venue.
Yeah.
Right.